All right, first I'll ask everyone to mute your cell phone if you would, so we don't have any interruptions. Microphones are on. Go ahead and I will call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation. Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Don,
Here.
Dan,
Here.
Joe,
Here.
Wanda,
Here,
Sherry.
Here. And a quorum is present. Item number 3, does any commissioner have a reason to abstain for a financial or a non-financial conflict of interest?
No. No.
no,
No.
I do not. Item number 4 is approval of the agenda.
I'll move approval of the agenda. Second.
So I have a motion by Kettering, second by Healy to approve the agenda as presented. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. At this time, would any citizen care to make a public comment? With no comment, we will close public comment. We need to wait till 6:10. So item 5, we're going to delay just a little bit because that is a hearing. So item number 6 is approve. Mike, come on up, talk about bike paths.
So last week we had our bid opening for the overlaying the bike path on Chalkstone Hill. We had a grant for that, applied for it last year. We were awarded it. For the overlaying, we had two bidders, and then for the concrete approaches, we only had one bidder. I guess I would recommend going with low bid on the asphalt surfacing company out of Sioux Falls. They're the ones who did the trail last year. Their bid was $76,907. And then the other bidder that we had was $103,142.
It's 76907, right?
Yep.
And Mike, we still have a grant with the state for, so the state will pay 80% of the cost
Yep.
on these. Okay. And then did you want 2 separate motions on those?
Yeah, if we could make a motion for the overlaying for asphalt surfacing company.
Sherry, you ready for motion? And make a motion to approve the bid for the asphalt surface company for $76,907.24.
Second.
So I have a motion by Clemish, second by Healy to approve for asphalt paving, $76,907.24. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
bye,
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
And then also need a motion for the concrete crossings. There's 3 crossings, 1 into a field and then 2 into Woodland Loop, which is a little subdivision on top of the hill there.
And I know this isn't required, but I think it's just a good idea to concrete those.
Right.
I mean, as far as it's more expensive, but it's gonna last longer and cut out on a lot of repairs in the future. So I think this is a smart idea to go with concrete on these.
And the bid amount on that was $19,745. CNC concrete out of Yankton here.
I'd move approval of the bid by CNC Concrete Construction LLC for $19,745.88.
I'll second that motion.
So I have a motion by Kettering, second by Clemish to approve the CNC concrete bid. 19,745.88. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. That concludes item number 6. And we are still a smidgen ahead for item 5. So let's step on to item number 7. And hopefully I get the last name right. Is it Milky? All right, why don't you come on up to the podium? All right, go ahead
Okay.
and explain.
Hello, we are Keith and Connie Milky. We are here today to represent all 37 homeowners of the West 11th Street neighborhood. We want 11th Street, a county road, at least I think it's a county road, I know it's not a city street, improved to stop the washboarding and dust. Grading the road works for only half a day, maybe a day at most. It never stops the dust. No one wants the road widened or culverts dug up and replaced. If asphalt paving is not an option because maintaining it is too costly, we would like to suggest chip sealing or recycled asphalt. We understand that there will be a cost for the street improvement project. A better road would be easier to maintain year-round, saving the county dollars in that regard. We are asking you to please review the situation and figure a cost for this project in a reasonable amount of time. We are willing to present a reasonable plan to the homeowners so that we can move forward and drive happier and safer. Thank you from the residents of 11th Street, South or West.
Are there any questions by the commissioners?
How many houses are on that road?
Well, 37 and one is not built yet and he signed also.
Or is it 37?
Well, how about 37?
Really?
Yeah. We counted them a couple of times. And that's not just 11th Street, you understand. We live on.
I believe
I'm
there's.
sorry, I didn't hear that.
I've already built. And 36 is being built and then none's actually signed also on that
In favor of
in
road
favor of
improvement.
fixing the road.
Well, a lot of these that are on here are husband and wife.
Yeah, yes, they are. So
Yeah, those I took off.
we had volunteers helping. Everyone did it a little bit differently. The 3 or 4 that got signatures. So, but houses are homeowners. Households, how about 37?
Actually built are already 35.
And ma'am, are you looking to have it paved or what would you like?
Well, we
us
understand
to
that
do.
chip sealing is a more reasonable option and wouldn't have to widen it or dig up culverts or any of those expensive.
And
fixes.
how long is that road? Is it a,
I think it's 1.2 miles up to Deer Boulevard. From where the pavement ends at the end of Majestic Bluffs to Deer Boulevard is. 1.2.
I'm sorry, she's breaking up.
Oops.
Mike, what is chip sealing a mile?
I think Mike is,
No, I'm just at, because he's here and
Yep,
just
no.
asking him what it is a mile.
I think we'll let these folks finish and then we're going to bring Mike, he's got numbers already put
Okay.
together, so. Any other questions for the Milkies?
You currently see any drainage issues, water standing, ponding?
In a drought year, haven't observed all that much water standing.
Not, not this year.
No. And honestly, we haven't been there long enough. Has anyone else noticed water standing issues?
I don't think there's any culverts on 11th Street.
I don't think there
Sure
are.
aren't.
Just into the property owners.
And that's their problem.
Yes.
Well, there's probably 50 to 100 miles of road just exactly like that in the county.
We understand that.
We just feel like it's a denser neighborhood where we are. And homeowners would like to drive on a safer and better road.
I live on that road
I know you do.
for 18 or 20 years. I would like to have it too.
And we noticed you weren't able to sign. We understand.
And we do understand there might be a cost to it.
Yep.
Whether it be through taxes or upfront. But at least we can take it to the homeowners that live along there.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hang tight. We're
Thank
gonna
you.
bring Mike up and go through some numbers for, it's about 1 1/3 mile, something like that.
1.3 would get us around the curve
Right. Yep.
to Deer Boulevard. So just a few numbers here that I threw together. Right now, what is there? 2, maybe 3 inches tops of gravel on that road. So in my opinion, if a guy was to chip seal it, we should definitely add gravel. So I threw a number of 6 inches out, which would be roughly 4,500 ton. So just in the cost and gravel would be 33,525. Then also a guy would want to use base stabilizing chemical. If you're going to do it, try to do it as right as possible. There's another almost 11,000. Double chip. That would be for 1.3 miles, 59,800. Striping, you'd have to stripe it and throw some signs up. There's another 3,000. Labor and equipment, hauling the materials and blading it and getting it prepped. Another 28,000, 29,000. I come up with about 136,000. We'll just say 137,000 roughly, just to get it ready to be done, I guess, so.
And we've done this double chip seal on other roads in the county, correct?
Yes, 301 is double chipped.
And how long did it last before it had to be rechipped?
Well, so it's like 301, we had, that went through 2019, Is that why it wheel rutted? I can't say that, but over time it will wheel rut minimal, there will be some wheel rutting of some sort. Anyways, it's like in the wintertime when you're plowing snow, you're always grinding off all your high spots. Well, that 301 got double chipped in 2018, and in 2021, we had to chip it again because we were already through our top chip seal on all the highs.
So you could figure 18 to 19, 20,000 a mile to single chip seal it.
I always use a number about 22.
22.
Yeah, this year was just shy of 18, but petroleum prices the way they are, who knows what it's going to be next year.
Mike, would an option of like some mag chloride or something on that road help?
It would definitely help with the dust.
This year's a tough year because it's so dry. I know you guys blade it and it's washboardy the next day because there's no moisture to keep it packed.
Right. Then we had the same problem last fall with it. It was bad. So say for instance, like next year, if we would put dust control on it. So last time dust control's been done on that road has been 2018. Will it be effective yet next year? Yes, but it won't be, it'll take a couple of years of dust control to get it good again. Roughly that 8,000 to 10,000 a mile is what dust control costs.
Sir,
I have a question on this dust control. Doesn't that contain salt?
It is corrosive, yes.
Yes, and that wrecks our vehicles.
Our only other option would be the base stabilizer, which that won't last forever either. But that doesn't control no dust.
right.
That will get it hard, but it,
Put like corn oil or soy oil down. People are doing that. I think it's more costly than mag chloride. Probably about 3 times, if I remember right, but
Do
I
we
can-
have this project in our 5
no,
any double chip seal projects in our 5-year plan?
as
Any
of right
place in the
now, no.
county?
294.
Well, yeah, yep, you're right. 294th Midway Road, 12 miles in 2024.
So there are a couple of state laws that allow us to levy frontage taxes. One of them, and anytime I get this wrong, because you just gave me this today, so I only read it once. There is one statute that allows you to perform maintenance and to levy a front foot tax. And then there's one for road improvements to levy a front foot tax. So I went out and I studied this road on Beacon and went along and added up, counted all the front foots on these properties. And I do believe we can circle down and get folks who don't actually live on the road as well, as long as it's part of our declaration. And I was going off the statute I thought we could use, which we ended up, we can't use it, but we're gonna go with that one right now, that essentially you could levy up to $2 per front foot on those properties. And so when I added up just the homeowners, not the farmland, because I was unsure if we can actually tax farmland in this manner, because no one really lives there. So again, that's a fuzzy area that we need some confirmation on. The most tax up to $2 that we could collect was $16,000 or $17,000 per year. So you're looking at an 8 or 9 year cost recovery if we would put all of that on the residents who live there. So essentially, we'd have to levy that tax for 8 or 9 years to pay for the entire project to be double chip sealed.
Is that what the interest costs?
No. And there's some questions in there about the whole borrowing and stuff too. So I would say no interest cost, you just leave that all out and you just essentially
Doubles it probably.
put it in your budget and then collect it as well. So I just wanted an idea if I was a homeowner and I lived there and this project was put in, what it would cost me. And so that gives you an idea. And some of these homeowners, the biggest one I counted was 496 foot, call it 500 foot. That's $1,000 a year if we levy $2 per front foot. Now, the statute I think we would end up using didn't have a limit on the levy we could put in. But again, that's all pretty preliminary. We need to read those statutes a lot closer, but it gives you an idea. There is a tool out there for doing special projects. And it could be very expensive. And I think the numbers, the 137 surprised me. But again, if you're going to do it, you want to do it right. You don't want to do it so only last 2 years. You want a product that's going to last for a good time. So if you did proceed down this path, put this pavement in, that's not going to last forever. So when it has to be re-chip sealed, do you put the levy back on for re-chip sealing?
The county wouldn't re-chip seal.
So, and to me, the question there comes down to what's it cost to maintain a gravel versus what's it cost to maintain a paved road? Because that's the long-term cost to the county. If those are the same costs, then there'd be no reason to continue levying a tax if they're the same cost. But if there's a difference, then there's a discussion to be had there. So I do think this is worth vetting out and pursuing. But as Don stated, we have lots of housing developments in exactly the same scenario. They're on a county township level road. And they have lots of houses that are being built along those roads. And we are not the only county dealing with this. Lincoln County comes to mind because they have huge growth. Minnehaha County has huge growth, and they have this challenge as well in those counties.
Their comment was for every roof that goes up, they lose money.
They lose money. That's what Lincoln County told us. For every house that's built, they lose money. Yes, sir.
Is there a priority that you have as far as the city is concerned and the city's going and roads that are closest to the city improved as far as growth is concerned?
We have no plan surrounding that. Nope.
I believe the city, didn't they just take over 23rd Street West out
The first chunk.
First
Yeah.
quarter mile.
a quarter mile of that?
Yep. So that's not, that used to be a county road, West 23rd. City took it over and they chose to upgrade it. So, but no, we don't have any plans for how to develop out from the city. Any other?
We're back into the city.
Mhm. Yep. And road districts, and that's a good point. We have lots of road districts, but my understanding is a county cannot cede ownership of a township road. That is my understanding. Now, I wish we could. I wish we could give up ownership of a road, but that I think requires change in state law. I just don't think we can say, you know what, if you want to make a road district, have at it, tax yourselves and do that. There's lots of road districts that are doing that. I don't think we can do that.
How many of the 37 houses want to pay the $2 per foot fee?
You know, and Wanda, I think that's really what's going to be the ultimate question is we can frame what can be done. And then it's the willingness of the folks who live there to shoulder that.
No, I understand that. I'm just wondering if a $2 per foot fee is off-putting to the folks that came with this proposal. Because I can't, obviously, I'm not there. I can't see
Yep.
them.
We came on the premise that possibly the road cost could be divided up 37 or 38 ways.
Right.
Over 30 instead of, they tried this 20 years ago where they went probably put, at Axe because the two ranchers that own the places north of this, they had all that frontage. They had to dive right there. So we took the approach on, when I went around to get the signatures, to ask the homeowners, would you be acceptable if we divided this up 37 ways and paid over a period of time for the road? And then they seemed to were in favor of it. Now, you don't know until you get the document that Daisy mentioned.
What?
See what the
Yep.
cost is.
So if we take the Mike's 137,000 divided by 37, that's 3,700 per home, essentially is what it would be. And then the question becomes is can we, well, and the question becomes, can we frame it that way legally? And then how many years would we amortize that over the project? So I think there's a lot of questions that as you would talk about this approach that would come up that we would need to answer, but that gives you a ballpark. It's 3,700, call it $4,000 is what, if we could do it evenly. So, and I don't know, did you go clear down to Don's house? Because technically he's not on West 11th. He's, okay, so all of those homes would be included. And again, I think there's a lot of legal questions we need to vet out. And then as a county commission board, we have to ask ourselves, are we ready for Kaiser Road to come to us and ask the same thing? Because that's a lot longer. If we would do the whole 2 miles, that's a lot longer and probably even more per home there. So, and then there'll be, I'm sure you've got 5 or 10 other streets that would probably come and ask the same thing. So we have to be prepared to answer those questions. So, but I think it's a,
I think for now, though, you're after some costs and some estimated costs and different options that you can take back to the homeowners.
yep.
So.
All right. So do we need to discuss anything else tonight? But I will circle back with your group of folks on that. Thank you for coming.
One last question.
Yes, sir.
We need to go now to see if everybody's willing to put that money forward.
I would go ahead and start having those conversations, just kind of give them that $4,000 ballpark as a starting point.
And let's say, possibly over a 5-year period, or that's to be discussed.
I think that would need to be discussed for that, what that would be.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. So I think we can circle back and finally do our 6:10 agenda item. We have a supplemental budget hearing. All right, so the notice was put in the paper. Napa Junction, 59,000, jail building, 58,000, mentally handicapped, $96,000. Since this is a public hearing, would any citizen care to make a comment? All right, we will close public comment for this item. Any discussion before we entertain a motion?
I would move approval of the supplemental budget request. Do we need each one separate, do you think?
I don't think
No,
so.
okay.
I'd second that motion, but I think we should probably talk a little bit about the Napa payment,
Okay,
because I think the understanding out in the country is that,
We're picking up the tab.
yeah,
And we're not.
and we're not.
okay, we just didn't budget enough for the taxes
Correct.
that came in.
The budget that we approve is just an estimate. I don't know if the exact amount for the Napa that will come in. So we have to. And their payment, they have a payment schedule, but they pay for the whole, the money that is received. They don't pay their amount that they're
So,
scheduled to.
so they are essentially remitting all of the taxes that they pay to pay off their loan.
Yes.
Okay, so the county is not supplementing. Any other clarifications? So the motion is to approve. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Ms. Atkinson. Item number 8.
Tonight, I'm here. I'll start with the first item. This is a request to increase our GIS shapefile fees. We have a few companies a year. It kind of fluctuates how many come to us each year, but they'll request some of our GIS information, which include the parcel outlines or the road center lines or the address points. Right now, we are charging $500, depending, that's the most we charge. We do a scale depending on how many parcels they want or what they want. So a study has been done previously of what other counties charge. And so I just included ones that were comparable to our size or around us. You'll notice the Clay County one is kind of low. I actually talked to her a couple weeks ago and she is looking to increase her fees since she's found out that other people are charging a lot more too. So my request is to charge $3,000 for the parcels, $2,500 for the road center lines, and $2,500 for the address points. And this has come to the commission before. So we should have a motion to increase those if you feel that we should.
Any questions for Jessica?
parcels and center lines look in line to at what does the address points entail as far as?
It would just be all of the 911 address points. There's a layer on there that show this parcel is this address. And so some companies request that. I know that the parcel layer gets sold out. Well, there's one company that purchases that and then they sell it to things like Zillow and other companies. So these are private entities. We would still, with our governmental entities, like with the city, we would still share that for free. But for these private companies who are making money off of it and selling it, where, I mean, other counties are charging quite a bit more. And I know my headers are kind of off, but that last row is the address points. And then the middle row is this road center lines. And so if they want all three, it would be 3,000, 2,500, and 2,500. Those are all three separate things.
How many of these do you sell a year?
I looked back in history. I've had, since I've been here, 3 requests with nobody following through, and that's at the 500. In history, it looks like maybe 2 to 3 times a year.
I'd move approval of Ms. Atkinson's request.
Second,
So I have a motion by Healy, second by Kettering to approve the fees presented at 3,000, 2,500, and 2,500. Further discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
All right, and the second agenda item is a request to extend Nancy's part-time employment. The reason for this is we're in an interesting time of year where our year ends November 1st. So certain things have to go kind of stop, like splits and stuff. And then we have the appeals coming up. So we were hoping to extend Nancy's contract until her part-time employment until the end of April, just so she can help continue training on those splits. And then when it comes towards appeal time, she can help train how to get ready for boards as far as getting packets out to the townships and cities and stuff. This time, so right now she's here until the end of December at 20 hours a week. We're requesting no more than 10 hours a week as needed. So if she doesn't feel like we have enough for her, or if we don't have a lot of questions at that point in time, she doesn't need to come in. It would be the same pay. I wouldn't be requesting any more out of my budget or to increase the budget at all for this. And this would be the last request. I know.
The last,
Barring anything else happening to us.
the last request we did for the other individual, is that panning out for training?
Yes,
Okay.
he'll be coming in on Friday and then next week as well.
Okay. I'm definitely not a fan of continuing to grow government, and I know this is a temporary request, and there's been quite a bit of turnover in that office, and Nancy has got a lot of history that's pretty hard to replace.
Yeah, it definitely is. And our new admin assistant is doing fantastic. And I know everything will continue to go smoothly, and thank goodness Nancy's been willing to help us, but we just need a little bit longer. We didn't plan
Okay.
for so many changes.
This is the last time, last time.
Fingers crossed.
This year, huh?
This year, this year.
So I'd move approval to extend the part-time employment to 10 hours a week as needed through April 29th,
2022.
2022 at
second,
$20.42.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I put it wrong.
At what's the amount?
2142. Do I have a second?
second,
Second.
I heard that. So we've got a motion by Healy, second by Fox to approve extending the part-time hours through April 29th, 2022, up to 10 hours per week at the pay rate of $21.42 an hour. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Hello.
opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Drive safe going home. All right, we are pretty close to on time, so entertain a motion to go into Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Second.
So I have a
Second.
motion by Healy, second by Clemish to sit as Board of Adjustment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are now sitting as Board of Adjustment. Item number 9. And I'm just going to not get this last name right. I know I'm not. Daniel Sabatka? Did I? Oh, my gosh. See, and then make fun of me. Thank you.
No, no, you should see how it's been handled all my life.
Okay. Well, sir, why don't you explain what you are here for tonight?
Okay, I guess just to be able to run our little project past this board is we are lot 17, I think, out there in the lakeside. And we're trying to put 1.7 acres into outdoor storage is what our plan is. I guess I have to ask you to give me more questions now. That's a simple version.
And as far as outdoor storage, does,
We're looking at like boats, campers,
okay,
that type of storage.
okay, so essentially just a fenced in area with
Yes,
toys inside,
with toys inside.
just big toys.
Yes.
Okay.
Will any of it be inside or? will
No,
it be?
it'll
just
all be outdoor.
And you abut 52, right?
No,
No?
no. We're,
I'm
we're
sorry,
land-
Don.
we're landlocked, actually.
I was looking at that.
So it's,
We're right up
Oh, I see it.
against, Aaron Peterson's park,
Hmm.
just to the north of him.
so will there be a fence completely around this lot?
Yes, that is the plan.
What type of-
Aaron already has one along the whole south side. And
Yep.
then we're planning the west, the north, and the east side.
What about any drain? Have you looked at drainage there? Have to do
Actually,
anything with that?
yeah, we did, I visited in the past with the water's gonna flow east unless we did a massive amount of dirt work, which doesn't make sense. But it would flow east to the next property line and then north towards, what is it, Buck? That was put in. And we've talked with the owners there. It's a natural waterway and we're just gonna leave that waterway the same. So I was visiting this afternoon with Marlon LaCroix, and he's kind of got a good grasp of it. And we're just gonna, the property is very flat except the east end where it does dip down for that waterway. I shouldn't call it a waterway, but that's the way the Mother Nature wants it to go. And so we're gonna leave that the same way. And his goal is to, flatten with that in mind, that it's gonna flow to the east to the property line and into the north to Buck.
Okay.
Gravel surface or pavement?
It's gonna be gravel.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
Have you talked to your neighbors to the east?
Yes. Actually, I have one, and he's the one that is our realtor on the property. The other neighbor that directly adjoins us is pretty on board because we're working on purchasing his property. So kind of eliminates that.
That usually
concern,
makes
I
it
should
go
say.
better.
For this fence that you're putting, is there gonna be any type of screening around the fence? Or what kind of fence are you planning on?
We're
doing?
just 6-foot chain link.
Okay, are you was there any discussion at the planning commission for, because I think on those campgrounds, there's there's kind of a screening fence.
No,
with
they
those.
didn't talk about screening, they just gave a little extra time just because of the way the supplies and things are coming in. And he was concerned about the contractor getting it right away, so they gave him up to 18 months to put the fence around. the property.
If anybody's saying
There was
anything,
no
I can't hear.
fence on the fence though. Okay. Because I think that's for those campgrounds, so we had a screening fence and that
Yes.
might be appropriate for, because it would match what's already
Right.
there. And
Well, and my
especially-
west side would
Yeah.
be facing a road,
Mhm.
so I'm not abutting anybody there. The north side, of course, would be Jeff's property,
The east side would be
The
the one. I'm
east
talking about,
side.
Yeah.
but in turn, if I end up owning that east side, it won't matter to me. I mean, there'll still be chain link. We'll probably go ahead and slat it so that there's some privacy there. Yes.
Okay.
And your access is on the private easement road.
Yes. Yes.
Any other questions? At this
No.
time, anyway. All right, sir, why don't you have a seat? I'm going to take public comment. This time, would any citizen care to make a public comment on this CUP application? All right, there being no comments, we will close public comment, bring it back to the, oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to ask you a question as far as.
Should probably have
You,
come
you
up.
would, sir, could you come up to the microphone? It's hard for Wanda to hear at home. And go ahead and state your name for the record too, please.
My name is Bob Tershinsky, and I live at 1005 June Lane. And I live above all this progress that's out on Highway 52. And want to know, is there an aesthetic look that you're going to use other than a chain link vents and a parking lot for your, your, whatever you're going to put in there, I guess, boats and campers? I guess I don't. Trees around it, a border that kind of goes with the landscaping around the area.
Well, I guess you could say yes, because the landscape around the area was a cornfield, so there's nothing there, period.
Yeah.
X amount of years. So to answer your question, I was planning on nothing more, than a 6-foot high chain link fence, but I'm not going to at this time do any barbed wire security or anything, because I think that makes it look.
Well, I didn't say barbed wire. I just said we're getting to the point where we need some, an aesthetic look to all this that we're putting in down there. And I'm not against any of it. The thing is, it should blend with, if there's bushes or flowers or trees or something to grow up to kind of border all this. Otherwise, you're just going to have a parking lot with tons of recreational equipment parked there. So I'd like the board to take that into consideration if you do any more further building down there or storage down there, that it would have some aesthetic look to what the state does out there at their campgrounds and everything else. I mean, that is aesthetically looks good. I just don't want I don't want 25 or 50 acres of cornfield turned into a parking lot for equipment, for recreational equipment. That's not what Yankton's all about, or Yankton County isn't either. So, okay.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, now we'll close public comment, bring it back to the board for discussion. At the planning commission level, they did note that the notices were done in the paper. And they had their public hearing and they did approve it 7-0. So as they went through, they said there was ingress and egress exits there. Access is on the private right of way. All parking is off right of way parking. No refuse area is required because essentially you're just parking vehicles and exiting. Utilities are present. They did not require screening or buffering. Fencing will surround the property. Signs will be placed according to ordinance and lighting will be present and downcast. Required yards and other open spaces, they noted none were required. They did find it generally compatible with the surrounding properties as they stepped through. Other discussion points we need to consider.
Well, I like Mr. Tereshinski's idea that they put some trees there, at least on the north side. I know that the three, I don't know, they call it three sons or three brothers, whoever that is, put pine trees or evergreen trees around their property. I think when they grow up, it'll look nice, and not everybody coming down the hill will see a parking lot.
And I did make note of your word evergreen. I do think tall deciduous trees would drop leaves on stored property and kind of like cemeteries. That's why they have evergreen cemeteries. Other comments on this?
Or feet south of 52 is this?
South of 52. Let me go back to that map.
Say, it's a ways.
So
Yeah, I
I'm just
think that
looking, we
first
got
one
the
was a quarter.
52 corridor, but it's gonna fall outside that.
Yep.
I'm sorry, he's breaking up.
You're right.
Other discussion before we entertain a motion? The only comment so far has been Wanda's comment about requesting the addition of evergreen trees.
I would make a motion to approve it with provided that he puts evergreen trees along the north border of the property.
So we have a motion to approve with the addition of evergreen trees along the north edge of the property. Is there a second?
Property quick.
Okay.
I'll second that motion. I think that's a good compromise there.
Okay, if I'm looking at this correctly, with these 3 rows of parking, looks like 40 feet for the boat or the trailer or whatever it is. Then there's 34 feet for the person to back it in and get it out and drive up and down and pass. If you put a row of Black Hills spruce on the north side, you really got to have at least 15 feet off the fence to allow them to grow to their maximum height. I don't think you get room for it. I'd like to have the evergreen trees there too. But
I'm sorry?
I said I'd like to have the evergreen trees there too, but it's not a requirement in the ordinance, is it?
No.
No. And I don't know how he can get all that in there. Do you?
So one, I don't know if you heard the beginning of Don's comment, but he said you're probably going to have to leave about 15 foot just for that row of evergreens. And to visualize.
I don't know how big he thinks these evergreens are going to get.
A cedar, blue spruce or cedar tree has the capacity to grow at 30 feet. diameter, I believe. 20 at the least. And that's
Well,
probably.
I have a bunch of trees
that's
at my
probably
house
60
and
years from now.
yeah, it's gonna take some time.
So regardless, it does take space. And if you count the ceiling
It does
tiles,
take, I would agree, it does take some space. I don't know that it takes 15 feet of space.
so you're looking at about half the width of this room for that 13 to 15 foot.
Which is
And
why
I
I
can
suggested
appreciate-
only on the north side.
I can appreciate the concern for the aesthetics, but part of my question or concern is that, you know, Sealand Marine's right there. They have fenced in area with boats. RV.
Our RV parks. they
Well,
don't-
the RV parks and to me, a little buffering, there's a little different because there's essentially people living in an activity going on. But there's the RV sales place down the road that's just a screen or a fenced in area too. And so it's kind of where do you start and stop, I guess, for me. I agree. If that was kind of the norm from day one, it would make a lot of sense.
What we did the 52 corridor, we should have had at that time put in so everybody could plan.
Right.
We did.
So right now we have a motion and a second to approve the application with the addition of trees on the north side. So if there's no further discussion, are we ready to vote on that motion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. And again, it is to approve with the addition of trees.
Wanda,
Yes,
Dan,
Yes,
Don,
No,
Joe,
No,
Sherry.
No. So at this time, I'll entertain another motion.
you know, we specified trees. We didn't specify how many or where. Even to Mr. Tereshinski's point, 2 or 3 trees would make a big difference. We're always talking about the lake area and how we need to make it aesthetically pleasing. Nobody's requiring, a shelter belt or anything like that. A couple trees, we leave it up to his discretion and we go from there. That's, I guess, my opinion. And I think, Don, to your credit, you're talking probably about a row of trees. Okay, and that may be difficult, but 2 or 3 trees or whatever the applicant decides to put in there, I think would make a difference. And it's a good compromise in this case. So
I wasn't part of the 52 corridor discussions, but I'm assuming they went to the 650 feet and then with the assumption things are gonna fill in by the road later. And then that would essentially buffer anything that's off of 52. Farther south. I don't.
Yeah.
You were part of that one too.
I remember going to the meetings. Yeah, and I think to Don's point, the Highway 52 is about corridor was about 20 years too late. So I guess I'm fine with the application. The public comments were fine with it too. They just asked for a reasonable request. I guess that's why I second that motion, but.
So is there another motion being proposed?
Dan, would you be okay planting a couple trees in there to move this forward? Yeah. I'd hate to see a good project not go forward on account of a couple trees.
you know, I wish I had a room for 50 trees because I'm a believer in trees. I have two concerns. Don expressed the first one. You set trees along that north fence line, and if I don't set them far back on my property, I'm gonna impinge upon my neighbor's property with those trees. We don't know yet what that property is going to be. So there's 2 acres right directly north of me that we have no idea what's gonna go on there. I'm definitely gonna have to keep these trees a minimum of 15 to 20 foot back. Or I'm gonna be on his property and then I've got another problem. My thought is, and I understand the gentleman's concern, but along with that, I bought a piece of dirt that is landlocked. I gave up 23 foot for an easement to even get to it. I'm not anywhere close to Highway 52. I'm buried back behind Buck. There's going to be 400 permanent camping spots wrapped around me. I don't see how my 1.7 acres, if I keep it maintained properly with gravel and rock, and I do the fencing properly like I planned, that 1 or 2 trees isn't just not even realistic. If I can't put a row of trees there 50 foot apart and put 10 or 15 of them in that 397 feet, to me, it seems foolish at that point. I want to just say it that way, and no contradiction to him because I know what he's saying. And my goal is to be a good neighbor out there the best I can be, but I'm also buying some fairly expensive property that I would like to try to make a little bit of cash flow back on. And every tree is going to take up 1 to 2 storage spots. So can I bury one in each corner? Yes, I could. I'm not going to be able to use the corner up there along Jonas because I'm going to be too close to the road. So I'm going to burn up 2 spots there anyway. So I guess I would argue against it on that grounds, and the fact that when these campgrounds get done in the spring, you're not going to be able to find me back there anyway. And I still don't know what Jeff's plans are for his 2 acres. I know there's been discussion on it. He hasn't made up his mind yet, but he's my neighbor to the north before I even get to Buck. So if I did anything, I'd want to try to do something that would correspond with what he was thinking, because he's going to be the neighbor directly affected by what I do. So, and it's just an opinion game.
Thank you.
Can I put in 2 trees? To answer your question? Yes.
Given what the applicant has said, and whose last name, of course, I can't pronounce either, I think that he's correct. He will be buried within the campground. So I would make a motion to approve the CUP as passed by the Planning Commission.
Second.
So I have a motion by Fox, second by Kettering to approve the conditional use permit based on findings of fact from the Planning Commission. Further discussion. Roll call vote.
Wanda,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Joe,
Yep.
Sherry.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. You're good to go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item 10, James Denherter, CUP. Please come forward. Go ahead and describe your project, please.
Thank you. Looking at putting up a storage unit on Highway 52 corridor. It's 652 feet long and 42 foot wide. I believe you have a drawing in front of you. Maybe putting the cart in front of the horse a little bit, because we're probably not going to have construction started until mid to late summer of next year. We've sold some property and we are waiting for that to finalize before we continue to go through with it. So we're just getting these things out of the way for first.
It should be fine. I would hold off on a building permit of any sort until you're ready, but
So what is your access to your lot 4?
So the new, is it mud Mudslingers that just opened.
Okay.
So that is a private maintenance road right there that all the tenants will maintain going
Cross
into
burn.
that to lot 4.
I'm sorry, I can't obviously see the map, and of course, my internet is down, so is this right along the highway?
Correct.
Yep, it's one of the 4 lots right along Highway 52.
So by the new coffee shop?
Yes, that's exactly where it is.
Okay,
And are they in lot 1?
Mudslingers.
yeah,
Yes.
Okay, so this would be lot 4.
closest to the empty lot on the corner.
Yes, to the east.
To the east, yes.
Yeah.
Any questions about this project?
No.
Okay. All right, sir, go ahead and sit down. At this time, would any citizen care to make a public comment? All right, we'll close public comment, bring it back to the commission for discussion. So let's walk through what the planning commission discussed. The applicant wishes to have a self-storage facility in a lakeside commercial district. All the public hearing notices were mailed and published. And they did hold their public hearing where it was passed 7-0. Ingress and egress exist, which would be accessed through the private road across lots 1, 2, 3, and 4. All parking is off right of way. No refuse area is required. Utilities are present. Screening and buffering will be in accordance with Highway 52 Corridor Overlay District ordinance. So what does that exactly entail?
Well, as discussed, one of the things that would happen there is you need a 10-foot landscape buffer on the north end there, just to help break up that and have a nicer view off the highway there.
Okay, no trees are required or
No,
anything, just,
mostly bushes are what
bushes.
people put in, but
okay. And the next is signs and lighting will be placed in accordance with Highway 52 Corridor Overlay District Ordinance. Lighting will be downcast. Required yards, none were required, and they did find it compatible with surrounding properties. Any questions from the commissioners? Were the dimensions in here somewhere? I know
It
I
was
saw
buried
them.
down a few farther than normal,
Yeah, I know I saw them.
page like 14. It's down a ways.
Oh, more. There we go.
21 and 22.
So a 16-foot height. Okay. Any other questions? Concerns or motions?
Was there, what was the commission plan approval?
7-0. Yep.
I'd move approval of conditional use permit for James Denherter. Based off the finding fact.
Second.
So I have a motion by Healy, second by Kettering to approve the application from James Denherter for a conditional use permit based on findings of fact from the Planning Commission. Further discussion? Roll call vote?
Joe,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Wanda,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Sherry.
Yes. You approve, sir. Oh, there you go. Have a good evening. Entertain a motion to go back into regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Healy, second by Kettering to go back to regular session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 11.
This is second reading for ordinance number 21ZN08, establishing permanent zoning regulations for Yankton County, South Dakota. Applicant is requesting a rezone of the property from Article 7, moderate density residential district, to Article 13, plan unit development, described as lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Drake subdivision as platted in book S19, page 227, section 17, township 93 north, range 56 west of Yankton County, South Dakota, less highways and roads. As previous discussion, you're aware that there is an ongoing discussion with the state DANR, and they called us again last week stating that the applicant is working with them on a regular basis to try and get everything that's needed for this project.
He's working with them to try and get everything.
Correct, yeah, they're make the project work.
Come on up, sir.
Drake Development, 161 Sleepy Hollow Road in Yankton. Yeah, as Gary had mentioned, we've been in contact from Lee with K Construction, who's our builder, multiple times with DNR. And I've also spoke with Stockwell Engineering, who has worked with the DNR before on multiple projects to lay out and engineer septic systems in areas like this. So, I mean, we're kind of on a hold basis right now. We've had a lot of discussion, but I haven't really given Stockwell an okay to start the engineering until we know we have a permit to proceed. Because the expense, the time and everything to go through until we know, hey, if we meet these requirements, we're good to go. So we're asking for the council to approve it based on getting a stamp from the state of South Dakota DNR. And if we can't do that, we can't build anyway. So I think that's the only part of the PUD that we haven't met the setbacks and the requirements of the PUD.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do you have the PUD requirements open?
I don't, but I can.
I forgot my
Chapter
book.
13.
I can very quickly. Section
13, page 97. Oh, you have the old one?
Oh, that might be from.
Yeah, you have the old one. What are you looking at, Sherry?
I'm just going to make sure we check all the boxes. So we'll walk through the planning commission first. Well, first, it is a public hearing. Would any citizen care to make a public comment on this application? All right, we'll close public comment with none given. So the planning commission did note that is currently zoned moderate density R2. Applicant wishes to rezone to a PUD, which is a planned unit development to build twin homes on half-acre lots. Conditions are not a result of the applicant's action, does not confer special privilege on the applicant. So we have notices and a public hearing were held. The rezone will allow the construction of twin homes to provide additional housing. Off to the side, it says the amendment or change in zone will make possible the reasonable use of the land. And they said, yes, it will allow twin homes to be built to help available housing. A recommendation to grant the amendment or change in zone will be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the ordinance. The planning commission said the rezone will be in harmony with the ordinance and its intent. A recommendation of approval will not be injurious to the neighborhood or otherwise detrimental to the public welfare. And they noted development is in harmony with the surrounding area and its use. No petition or amendment or change in zone shall be recommended for approval unless the planning commission finds the condition, situation, or the intended use is unique, required, or necessary. And they said the planning commission finds the situation unique and the intended use of the PUD warrants the rezone. The rezone is in compliance with the comp plan. Land use is clearly defined and property setbacks will be identical to county zoning regulations. Okay. Satisfactory provisions made to address county and state requirements. So in it, that note that says it will be identical to county zoning recommendations or regulations for setbacks, which zone?
Should follow R2.
R2.
R2?
Typically,
Okay.
it's the zone that they're changing from.
Because if I recall correctly, wasn't that where they're originally, they wanted a variance for those setbacks in R2?
No, they came with a conditional use and it was denied. They didn't have a variance last time,
Right.
correct? It was a conditional use.
I mean,
Oh, it's
conditional
because there
use
was
has
too
been-
many on the one lot?
Well,
It was a request for conditional use
permit.
for multiple twin homes on a single lot.
There we go.
So I
Okay,
think the
thank you.
setbacks were okay. It's the, if they were to follow setback from twin home to twin home in an R2, probably wouldn't. Property in, if I remember right, the setbacks are met.
The property is not gonna be, it's gonna be, not gonna be divided up, is it? So really all we're doing was the setbacks from neighboring landowners, not individual buildings.
Well, that's why I want to be clear, because if it's printed this way, that's not exactly how I read it. And I want to correct it before to make sure that this is lot line setbacks, not home to home setback.
Right.
So give that some thought and I'm going to keep stepping forward. PUD will use current county zoning ordinance established setbacks and state requirement, and here it is listed again. And then ingress egress exists with a cul-de-sac for safety vehicles, off-street parking exists and lighting addressed to provide security without being obtrusive or distracting. Refuse services and area will be provided. Utilities are present. Screening will be established where required. Signs will be placed where required. Lighting will be present to provide safety, but will not be obtrusive or detrimental. Required yards met, it states here, is compatible with adjacent properties in the surrounding area.
So, Madam Chair, if you go to page 17, it's
Oh, on this.
in the packet. It's kind of their proposal that they put together.
Gotcha.
And then they address lot lines in attachment. And then lot setbacks, attachment 3.
Okay,
They discuss front setbacks at 30-foot, 20-foot rear setbacks and
Okay.
10-foot side setbacks.
all right. I just didn't want to get us into a
Yeah.
pickle down the road.
Yep.
Thank you for checking. So the procedure, extended approach to be developed. It included a contour site plan that's required, and that's in there, building plans and elevations and plans for landscaping and paved areas, transportation patterns, and water and sewer services. And I believe those are all shown on the maps provided. Such other information as may be required by the County Planning Commission to determine if the proposed planned unit development is consistent. Okay, so I think all those boxes are checked. Fine. Any other comments, discussion by the board?
I'd like,
My only concern remains whether or not there will be enough septic systems per unit. My
Yeah, and-
reading of the letter that that came from the state said that there needs to be a test for each one.
Yep, and if I recall correctly, the applicant is okay with us putting that condition on this approval, that he needs to get that approval before he can proceed with his project. But he wants it approved before he spends the money to get it all designed, which I can fully understand.
I can understand that, and with that caveat, then I'm okay with it.
Okay.
And I think that with or without that as a condition, goes without saying that the project cannot move forward legally if he can't meet the
Yeah, exactly,
requirements,
exactly.
so.
Right.
I don't know
Is
that we
that
can put a
correct, Gary? I mean,
a
so
condition on a zoning change.
Gotcha. Yep, it's probably a better way to go, Joe. Don, did you have something?
I just wanted to mention,
So who's going to enforce that?
I wanted to mention that this is probably the most complete, well thought out application that I've seen since I've been sitting on the county commission. I think they've done tremendous amount of work. They've come and got input from us 2 or 3 times. And I think it should move forward for them.
I agree with the completeness. Sure. I would entertain a motion at this time.
make a motion to approve the rezone.
Second,
Nope.
I don't, yeah.
I don't feel that it's necessary to put that in there because they won't be able to build it anyway.
And I don't think we can put a condition.
Yeah.
So I have a motion by Clemish, second by Kettering, to approve the application for the planned unit development rezone. Any further discussion?
Now, for further discussion, this is gonna help the housing crisis in the community. And I think it's a good project, so passes.
Roll call vote, please.
Dan,
Yes,
Don,
yes,
Wanda,
Yes,
Joe,
Yes.
Sherry.
Yes, project approved, sir. Thank you.
thank you.
good luck to you. We take a break. 5 minute. We take a 5-minute break.
Is that a motion?
No, I make a motion for a 5-minute break.
Second,
So I have a motion for a 5-minute break. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye, all opposed, nay.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are now on break.
I like the foo-foo ones.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Microphones. Entertain a motion to go back into session.
Oh, we go back to
I
this.
move to go.
Second.
So I have a
Yes, ma'am.
motion by Kettering and a second by Clemish to go back into session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. We are now back in session. Now, item number 12, we need to hear is Board of Adjustment. So entertain a motion to go into Board of Adjustment.
I move we go into
I
board
mo-
adjustment.
Second.
Second.
So motion by Kettering, second by Fox to go into Board of Adjustment. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. We are now setting as Board of Adjustment. We are at item number 12, Ryan Olson Appeal, Building Permit Fee. Coming up, sir.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Olson. I was born and raised here in Yankton, graduated from Yankton High School in 14, then went to Nebraska for 6 years and then moved back at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic as my school where I was teaching high school moved online. I didn't want to live by myself in a community of 1,200 people with no family. So I moved home and did my online teaching from home before I accepted a graduate assistant coaching position at Mount Marty University, working with the men's basketball team where I am now. Last fall, or at about this time last year, I kind of started to make plans to move to Yankton permanently, even with the uncertainty of my position, wanting to plant back here in Yankton. And my parents brought forth to me a government program, the Governor's House program, which is a housing program over in Springfield, helping inmates get get back into everyday life upon release by helping them to build homes and things like that. And then also the program is built for people like myself looking to build permanent housing in Yankton. So inmates over in Springfield State Pen build homes, and then modular homes, they build them and then they transfer them over as an economic way for people to have home and housing. So I went ahead and went forth with this idea. I got approved for the house on January 25th, 2021, and was told that a July 1st, 2021 delivery date for the home would be feasible and would be done. I proceeded to get a building permit from the Yankton County Planning and Development here March 31st, 2021, with intention of starting my foundation around May 1 to have it ready for the July 1st delivery date. As we met with my contractors in May to go over final plans and things like that, I got a call from Springfield from the head of housing over there, Steve Maruska, who said that the project was delayed due to COVID-19 supply chain issues and things like that, and that the house was looking to be delivered around September. At that point, but he also said with the caveat that it may or may not be completed yet this year because of how many issues we're having with material goods and labor shortage, as well as they shut production down for 2 one-month segments due to outbreaks of the COVID-19 at the prison. So at that point, we decided to stop it since there was no guarantee, as we didn't want, from a liability standpoint, to have a hole dug on this lot that was going to be a 10-foot deep hole. From a liability standpoint, also, we didn't want weather turn into a swimming pool if it got weather and all that stuff, which is funny now with the drought that we had this summer. But we decided to postpone it. At that time, I kept calling back every 2 to 3 weeks over to Springfield to get updates. And it kept getting pushed back further and further to that it was going to be around October, November. And it more than likely would not get done yet this year. And so we continued to delay it. Lo and behold, I called back in the middle of October and they said it was about 6 to 8 weeks away from delivery, which is next Friday, December 17th is the day. So as I started to make plans with my contractors, being naive to this whole building process, I didn't realize that the building permit that I was granted on March 31st had a 6-month start time where you had to start permanent work within that 6 months. I read the fine print and I didn't read that point, and it did say a 2-year, you had 2 years to finish it. So I figured that was what it was, but it was a 6-month start time. At which point I tried to, and I'm appealing for an extension of that first one. Due to the timing of it, the foundation has been poured and all that stuff was poured last week. I got a new building permit, as I knew that I wasn't going to be able to get on the county slate until after I needed the concrete work to get done. So I am appealing for a refund of the second building permit in the amount of $347 due to supply chain issues caused by COVID-19 that were out of my hands.
Any questions for Mr. Olson?
Pretty thorough.
No. But it is good to know that he's not responsible for the pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion?
Well, I know we had similar situation a few years ago. The court case was in what, Hand County?
Hand or Hanson? Can't remember.
Hanson.
Hanson.
Yankton County. The finding of that was that an appeal, I think the commission offered a refund or an extension or however it was. I think it was an extension. And that was overturned in the Supreme Court. Had the applicant come and asked for an appeal to the decision of it expiring due to the act of God clause, it would have,
He's breaking up.
they could have potentially extended it under that, if I remember right. And we had discussions over what is the act of God clause, what constitutes and what fits the act of God clause.
Mhm.
I don't have all the answers, but that's kind of where we're at.
To me, the long and the short of this is not a whole lot different than some of the issues surrounding the construction starts on the cables. But I also think that is absolutely the wrong thing for the county to do when they want to have growth and have new housing come in and development in a situation that he was absolutely had no control over, not to approve his request for a refund of the one fee.
One thing I use my friend Google here. And this is on law.cornell.edu, act of God. The definition they use at common law, an overwhelming event caused exclusively by natural forces whose effects could not possibly be prevented. Example, flood, earthquake, tornado. In modern jurisdictions, act of God is often broadened by statute to include all natural phenomena whose effects could not be prevented by the exercise of reasonable care and foresight. So I think the question is, does this meet it or not? One thing I get.
Well, I think if you
hung
take
up
the
on
whole
is
Chinese,
exclusively. Sorry, Wanda.
I said, well, I think if you take the whole, it started in China out of it, then I would say it would fit that scenario.
And if I might add, to Don's point, again, I'm making a considerable investment in the county. All of my concrete work has been from a Yankton County company, Larry Leader Construction. I bought all my appliances for the home from Carl's here in Yankton. My carpet was bought locally from Larson's. All my materials for the garage have been bought here in Yankton at Mead Lumber. All that's totaling around $100,000 of investment into the county. As far and again, I understand that there's been rules in place with negligence, so to speak, on letting building permits expire. I had no guarantee of this getting done this year with the house coming, and I didn't want to have a foundation concrete wise without supports and all that stuff sitting around for 6-7 months, especially sitting through a winter. To add, again, I didn't have control over the situation in terms of I wasn't building this property on my own. I was at the mercy of a state-run government program who had rightfully so, they're not seeking to make money at that entity over in Springfield. So they are trying to pinch pennies and, so to speak, getting material costs. It wasn't like was contracting this out to a private contractor to be able to buy materials at my discretion. And I was just holding back on it because I didn't want to spend more money on material cost. I had no control over the shortage. Springfield was very stingent on getting their materials, which I don't argue 100% because they're trying to save money and do everything as cost effective as possible. So again, I just feel like, me personally, and again, I feel like this is out of my control. Global pandemic that killed however many people and shut down things and caused supply chain issues for even 20 months after the event doesn't count as an act of God. And as far as I'm concerned, in South Dakota, I don't really know what an act of God is, because I don't think a tornado can delay construction projects for 6-7 months. I don't think a flood necessarily can delay things 6-7 months as something like this could.
Any other questions before entertaining action?
One for Gary. When we did the flyover, how many post-construction fines did we see or find?
We didn't move forward on that, as you recall, because there was a concern about the decks. Some of the decks and things were probably going to be less than the post-construction fee.
Right.
And that's literally, that was the biggest reason behind it.
How many were highlighted though? Do you remember? Was it about
There was
200-300?
No, not near that number. It was like 58, and over half of the shades or the small decks. So, and then there was some little porch things and stuff, most of them and things. And it was mostly just very small projects.
Okay. Thank you.
I would move approval of the refund of one of the permit fees.
For the $347.
Yes.
I would second.
So I have a motion by Kettering, second by Fox, to approve the remittance of $347 back to the applicant. Further discussion?
I can appreciate the situation that the gentleman's in. Two things where I'm a little hesitant is, one, the definition that's caused exclusively by the natural forces, and I think supply chain issues could be argued they weren't. But the other probably underlying thing is, are we prepared to do this over and over? I guarantee, Don, that we're gonna have more will surface. And so I think whether we approve it or not, I think we need to be very clear on what maybe constitutes an act of God. And I haven't got an answer from.
Well, I think that it is clearly not something the applicant had any control over. Most of the people in the United States didn't have any control over it. He certainly didn't have any control over the supply chain or the government or state shutting down production over at Mike Durfee. So I think that I don't know that we're going to have a run on people seeking refund of fees.
I would guess that the best recommendation that I could make to prevent that is that our planning and zoning office would set up a file, and a week before or 2 weeks before expiration of a building permit, they notify the borrower or the builder applicant and confirm that he understands that this permit is owed. And if he ignores that, then you simply, you want to come in and get a new one, you pay for it.
That was part of the, actually, I think it was in the ordinance. That was part stricken some years ago because the liability that follow through on the zoning administrator. And I think we discussed that during some of our ordinance changes of putting that back in. And the,
I don't think. we
I'm
should
talking
give
about service to the public. I'm
well,
not
I
talking
know,
about liability.
well, the point. is
One follows
we've
the
had this
other.
discussion and everyone in this room, aside from Wanda, was part of it. And I think the consensus was the applicant signs stating that they've read that application and that permit and they understand everything about it. Now, I'm not saying, I mean, I totally agree. I don't believe it was in your control at all. But if a company went bankrupt, is that in the applicant's control? Probably not. Is it an act of God? Not likely. So that's where we have to make that distinction, because I do think there's gonna be some shadow effects from whatever this decision is.
A bankruptcy isn't a natural
But
event.
it's out of the applicant's control.
No, but it's also not a natural event, like a pandemic.
Right, but your reasoning one was that it was out of his control, or one of the reasons.
Well, you read a definition and it is out of his control. But it's a bankruptcy is not a natural thing. Mr. Kettering and I used to do lots of them, and I think he would think they were unnatural.
So I think at this time, are we ready to vote on this?
Yes.
Are we in further discussion?
If you need further, go ahead.
I'd like, Deb, could we get your legal opinion on this and what precedents this could set for the county? I mean, what would you advise us as commission?
Is her microphone on?
I did a little research before the meeting. You're gonna see COVID and act of God combined all over the place. And no one is saying whether or not COVID is gonna qualify for that. And that's just because anything dealing with COVID, there's no precedence for it. So I don't think anybody's taken the position one way or the other that any delay in a contract or inability to perform a contract because of COVID is an act of God. So that's all that's really out there, which is, we don't know.
So, and basically, this is would be overturning a decision of the zoning administrator. Said it'd take 4 out of 5 of us to do that, correct? No, I believe that's what, or is it, it shouldn't be a simple majority. I believe it's 3/5 majority, is it not?
Good question.
20,
21.
23 violations, complaints, penalties.
Did you find it?
I did not.
Anybody?
Just said Article 21 has matters of appeal seen by Board of Adjustment.
I can't hear you.
Which section were you in, Dan?
Is it in the county commission section or the board of adjustment?
Well, we're in Board of Adjustment. And when did the building permit expire? Like, what was the date?
6 months, doesn't
The
it?
building permit was issued March 31st, 180 days, I believe, was September 27th, 28th, somewhere in there.
it expired and
We've got an issue over $375 and we spent 30 minutes on it. We got people waiting. Could we table this till the next, until you guys do the
Well,
research you want to do?
I think we're ready to vote. It's just the question is, how many votes do we need to overturn? So we can go ahead and vote and then we can figure out the vote. But I think Dan's right. I think it is a 2/3 vote to overturn. So is there any further discussion?
one question would be if it's within the time frame allowed to, because once a decision is made, there's a set amount of time. where
15 days to.
It has to be appealed. And if it doesn't meet that, then we can't take action. And that's been clear in a court case recently that we would have no, so if the decision has been made and 15 days has passed and it wasn't brought or the appeal wasn't filed, we have no ability to act on it.
So any person aggrieved by a decision of the zoning administrator shall file a written intent to appeal with the zoning administrator within 10 working days after the building permit has been issued in accordance with section 1731. So that's someone appealing a building permit.
I believe that's also a decision that would be made by any official of the.
Yep.
county.
So within 10 days. So was that followed, Gary?
Basically, yes, he did that as soon as he got his second building permit.
Okay, so we're good to go there. So if there's no further discussion, was there a motion on the table?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a motion.
I thought
earlier.
so. Okay, so the motion was to approve to give refund the money. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
All right, we're going to do a roll call vote on this one.
Don,
Yes.
Wanda,
Yes,
Dan,
Yes,
Joe,
No,
Sherry,
No. So it's a 3-2 vote, and that I don't believe is enough to overturn. Now, if we find out that it's only a majority, then it'll be refunded. But if it's a super majority, it's not refunded. We'll let you know tomorrow.
All right, thank you for your time.
thank you.
That's for conditional use of the variance. I'm not finding it.
It might be in state law.
1717 Board of Adjustment Appeal.
that says,
Oh, voting
or
requirements.
grant conditional. use.
So we are moving on to item 13. It's 7:50. Steve, come on up. Oh, thank you. Entertain a motion to go back into
Good save. Steve.
regular session.
Make a motion to go into regular session.
Second.
So motion by Clamor, second by Kettering to go back into regular session. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All
Aye.
opposed, nay. Motion carries. We are now back in regular session. Now we are at item 13.
See, I wasn't sleeping over
You
there.
were paying attention.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I hope to make this an easier decision than the ones you've had earlier in the evening. Currently, our department has two categories of first responder of part-time positions, EMT and paramedic. What I'm asking to do is to add another category of part-time classification, if you will, as emergency medical responder. These individuals have recently, within the last few years, have been by state statute allowed to participate and work on an ambulance as long as they are not the primary care provider. So they kind of work as the driver, if you will, although I don't like ambulance driver, that term, I don't like that. But they can work with EMTs and paramedics while taking care of patients and driving and those type of things. What we want to do is just kind of add this to help with our staffing, with part of our staffing and scheduling issues that we've come face to face with over the last couple of years, and just trying to add.
He's cutting in and out.
What was that? Wanda trying to ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay.
I think she's talking to
I'll just
somebody
leave
else.
that for right now. Okay, so that's what we would like to do, is just add another classification.
So you're not actually adding any more bodies, it's just. a
Oh, we could
classification.
potentially add bodies, but we're not adding
Time
FTEs,
slots.
if you will.
Yeah.
More full-time
Right,
slots,
no
okay.
FTEs, correct. Because there's still gonna be, we have a bucket of hours that need to be covered.
Sure.
These people are gonna help cover those bucket of hours that are already budgeted for. And they're not gonna, we're not
Okay.
adding hours for them.
Sure. And, oh, you said this is a recent change to state law that allowed,
Yeah,
Yes.
probably 4 years ago, I'm guessing that they put that in where they can, EMRs or emergency medical responders can participate on ambulance. A lot of EMRs are traditionally that, like I said in my little memo, they're entry level. So there's like there's a number of like EMRs, first responders, medical first responders in like your small areas, like we have some in Gayville, Westerville, Vollen. So, and we just recently completed that class, so.
this would be a good way for somebody to start out.
Yeah, well, that's
And-
what we're
and
kind of hoping is
ambulance
kind of
and learn,
get
yeah.
their foot in the door and kind of become part of our organization and then move on. So,
I think it's a good idea.
all right, thank you.
So we would need a motion to approve creating the emergency medical responder position.
Category. I think it's a better
Category,
term.
better
And
category.
again, it's clear, yeah, because I don't,
Yeah, because
we don't want people thinking we're adding a bunch of new employees, which really isn't the case. It's just a classification for somebody to basically start out on.
right, entry
Okay,
level.
entry
position.
level. Yeah, and this is, yeah, I think this is a good way to help with the staff.
Entertain a motion.
Move approval of new job classification for emergency medical responder.
Category?
Yeah. Real quick, do we need to add the wage in there? Or are we all good with
Oh,
whatever I?
At 1340.
Well, I sort of purposely left that out because I imagine that wage is going to fluctuate over the next. So
Well,
I think what we can, my thought is we add that classification of that position and then you're gonna have it, we're gonna need a job description, I suppose.
I have one already. I have
And
a
then-
copy of it if you'd like to see it, but I haven't.
We should, if we put anything in there, we should put what step he's in according to the.
Well, this is,
handbook.
There's
this is
no-
the.
no step
part-time
per
positions
hour.
don't have a step.
So I can certainly add it. I just wasn't sure if that was the right position, place to or not. At $13.40 an hour.
Okay.
It's a place to start.
So we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. So motion by Healy, second by Fox to create a new classification, emergency medical responder at the pay rate at $13.40 an hour. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
All right, very good. Thank you very much. My second little topic or item is asking you guys to give me what approval to move forward and pick up, or I don't know what or how to exactly ask the, don't know what it is exactly the right term is. Hate to use the word hire, but let's just go ahead and use that word hire. Two temporary staff members for my department to help cover our staff shortfalls. Currently, as most of you, as you all know, I'm going to be out of service and not able to participate working on the ambulance for 3 to 4 months. I have a paramedic currently that's going into surgery for orthopedic situation that is going to, that person is going to be out for 3 or 4 months. It's one of our full-time paramedics, or potentially could be out 3 or 4 months. We have a number of part-time providers that are stepping away for a little while for vacations, family things, that type of things. Maybe potentially another one of our very active part-time people that might be stepping away for a little bit. And we're going to need a little help with getting people scheduled. Our biggest hole, I think I've said this every time we talk about scheduling, is Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. The daytime Monday through Fridays are very difficult to cover. We do have providers that currently work those positions, but we limit their hours to 20 or 24 so that we don't have to give them benefits. So what I'm asking is to do seasonal or temporary, which we can increase their hours without giving any benefits. Dawn.
So Steve, if we would give approval for that, those two until July 1, 2022, that would meet.
Yes. Would not increase the budget, was not we're not putting on additional full-time staff members. That's what I'm asking for. It's all budgeted. There's nothing extra nothing extra. Just the matter of being able to increase part-timers' hours.
Steve, are you full on employees now, or do you have
I
openings?
have, we just hired our 4th or 5th, our opening paramedic position. He's going through orientation right now, kind of waiting on his state licensing. We have quite a good roster. However, those individuals all work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So that's where we have our biggest issues. So
you're filled up, it's just some medical
yes,
necessity. is
medical
what's gonna
necessity
require.
things, yes.
So this is a temporary thing.
Yes.
Any other questions for Steve?
No.
You want to call it temporary or seasonal?
I don't know if
Approval.
We can call it seasonal. We can call it seasonal. We
I
can call it temporary.
I would do temporary.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd move approval of Steve's request to hire two temporary employees
I'd like to put a date.
Until
Through-
January or July 1.
through July 1, 2022.
Yes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion by Healy, second by Kettering to approve for 2 temporary staff members through July 1st, 2022. Further discussion?
And I think it's clear that this is just a temporary due to some medical issues, so.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you all very, very much.
Thanks, Steve.
See you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Dr. Stanage.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I believe you have a letter in front of you, and I'm here today to, on behalf of Lewis and Clark Behavioral Health Services, to ask for a letter of support for USDA Rural Development loan. And I wanted to take just a couple minutes and give you a brief explanation as to why we're asking for that letter of support. That I think most of you know that Lewis and Clark has been looking at our facility needs for the last year and a half or so. And in the last 6 months, our board has made a decision to go ahead with building a new facility. We're looking at building a $17 million facility that would be on land that we own, where Cedar Village is, close to the National Guard Armory, if you know where that location is. That probably the biggest news, and I think the best news for the county, is that as a part of the governor's proposed uses for ARPA funds, there's $15 million set aside to develop infrastructure for crisis care services. And this has to be approved by the legislature, and there are hoops that we have to jump through. But of those funds, Yankton is slated to receive support to build a crisis receiving center as a part of those funds. And what I want the commissioners to understand is that you're really looking at transforming behavioral health crisis care in Yankton County. And the biggest thing that you have to understand is that the state is really stepping up and taking responsibility for the operations, the costs that go into the pre-commitment hearing days for individuals who are in, for example, residential crisis stabilization. And that's a sea change for the county commission, because the state's taking over some of those costs that have traditionally been the responsibility of the county. We're looking at possibly breaking ground as early as next summer. There's a lot of things that have to fall into place, but looking at breaking ground as early as next summer, and then we're probably talking about an 18-month building project. So really appreciate your support. It will help us with our loan application for USDA. So, and I'd answer any questions. It's a big deal for the county. So thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you, Tom.
coming. So in the packet, they have asked us to pen a letter. They did provide a skeleton letter, if you will. So that second page has the verbiage there and a place for 4 signatures from all the commissioners to show support if we. 5, did I say 4? I wasn't counting myself, see, 4 other commissioners. So, but we would need, I think, probably a motion.
I'll move that we pen the letter in support of the building project for Lewis and Clark Behavioral Services.
I'll second that motion.
So motion by Kettering, second by Clemish, to approve the letter of support for the construction of a new center here in Yankton County. Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. So Wanda, you'll have to stop by and sign this.
I will.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, next up, we have Roger Smith. Item 15.
When I, when Patty's office wanted me to get the information into a packet, we put together the cost of your property and casualty insurance coverage for the year. And I forgot to add some additional information. Now, the numbers haven't changed at all. All I'm going to do is hand out to you the same sheet. But I put down some deductibles, limits of liability and so forth. So that's not just a number, a cost of insurance. So I guess Wanda, I'll put one on her desk and
Thanks, Roger.
she could get it when she needs it.
Thank you.
Nobody's there but mine, so I apologize. But anyway, and then I also want you people know Ryan Elwood, he's with me. So if I can't answer something, he can. You've had that sheet for a few days anyway. And just to put a number together with regard to the cost of the insurance, proposed insurance this year, it's up about 2.5%. Now, the property liability insurance policy went up about $10,000. I gave a bill to Patty for the workers' compensation that went down about $5,000 from last year. So the net additional is about $7,000, which is about 2.5%. Now, we'd all like to have it less or have it zero, but in the insurance market today, it's not impossible, but almost impossible. But anyway, if anybody had any questions on that sheet that I've given you, the costs are what they are, and the coverages are abbreviated there. So for example, property has a $5,000 deductible and so forth. And the other thing that, and this does not include the ambulance department nor the emergency management. Those are separate policies, separate coverages, separate vehicle insurance, separate liability insurance and so forth. So this is your property liability insurance, less the ambulance, less the emergency management. And it's also workers' compensation. Numbers are down below there at the bottom. I thought I should get to you you have in your packet some information on the famous claim down in Beatrice, Nebraska, Gage County, whereby they got into a heck of a pickle down there many years ago.
Oh, I think you pushed a button down on the base. The light's off. There you go.
It's back on. Okay. The Beatrice 6, and there's a couple of lessons to be learned by this. That's why I put it in there. Part of the problem was during this 20-year period between when the 6 people were proved guilty and went to jail, and the 20-some years later that they were exonerated, the county, Gage County, changed insurance companies from EMC Insurance Company, who you're with, to the Nebraska pool, which is available in Nebraska, just like it is in South Dakota. And so part of the problem was EMC Insurance Company said that the pool should pay, and the pool said no, EMC should pay. So they finally reached an agreement. And the lesson to be learned by that is that if you do change your coverage, you want to make very certain that you cover yourself for a number of years, what we call look back. Your look back period is back to 1993. So you've got 20, what is it, whatever the math is, 27, 26, 27 years of look back coverage on your policy. And that would have done Gage County, if they'd had the same thing, that'd have done them some good. The second thing to be learned is the settlement was 28 million. So even if you had the coverage for it, or they had coverage for it, you wouldn't have 28 million. You can see on this sheet, you've got 6 million. So in a worst case scenario, if that happened in Yankton County and payments were made for 6 million, you still have to tax the taxpayer or assess the taxpayers to pay the fee. So that's the second thing to be learned. And I'm not telling you should raise your insurance to 28 million, but it is something that does occur. And usually it's in the big city, but here it is in Beatrice, Nebraska, which is not very far away. So having said that, I would answer any questions you have. If you have questions between now and when you decide on what you will do with this insurance, by the end of the month, be sure you can give me a call. Just trying to think of anything else that might, you've gone through the deductible program where we've done that to keep the costs down. You could sure raise deductibles to reduce some pricing. You can buy more liability insurance if you so desire. But we've gone through that over the years. It's worked pretty well. We still have 8 or 10 claims that are ongoing, that are being worked on by the attorneys. I don't know if you people feel that the attorney's done a good job for Yankton County or not. If they haven't, I would have thought I'd hear from you. If they have done a good job and you're satisfied with them, that's the package that EMC brings to the table, where they have the attorneys, I think, that are schooled in this kind of litigation. I think they do, as far as I know, and I've never heard complaints. I haven't heard complaints from the county commission. So the package that they have put together with our local agency, their company, their defense attorneys, I think has worked pretty well for a long period of time. Any questions, I'd answer them. From what I understand, the pool will make a presentation. You'll decide in a couple of weeks on what to do and how to go forward. And so I would be available anytime for questions or concerns. I'll leave it at that. If you have no questions, I'd answer any. If there's any questions on you want to do more or less than what we've got on here, we can do that. So I wanted to keep it at 5 minutes.
You did great.
Thank you very much. And I'll be available on the 17th or 21st. So.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Roger.
All right, Lynn.
Thank you.
Roger, it's good to see you. I'm gonna go back and tell my friends that I saw you, because the rumor was that you were retired, so I gotta dispel those rumors. Okay, tired, good, okay. Commissioners, Madam Chairman, thank you for giving me some time on the agenda. I just have a little quick presentation. I didn't want to try technology, because sometimes I succeed, sometimes not so much. So on the left-hand side of your packet, I've got a quick little, not PowerPoint, but little slide presentation. We'll just run through really quick. Wanda, I think we met very briefly in January. So I'm Lynn Brenn. I'm the Deputy Director of the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance. I've been in this role for about not quite 5 years. It'll be 5 years in April. Before that, I worked as a claims adjuster for almost 17 years at Claims Associates, handling claims for the risk pool and also other risk pools, the school pool and a school pool in Wyoming. So very familiar with public entity claims and stuff like that. I work closely with the pools when they were reworking their coverage documents and stuff like that. So really focusing our coverages on the needs that our public entities that are covered by the pool are facing. The second page in my little slide talks about the pool history. So the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance was formed in 1987 in response to a hardening insurance market. Coverage was simply, if you could find it, it was expensive and insufficient. The legislature created the enabling statutes, which then allowed for the formation of the public risk sharing pools. The state of South Dakota has one, the school boards has one, the health pool, the workers' compensation fund that the county is a member, all of those were formed at the same time. The risk pool's philosophy is we take a proactive approach to loss control and risk management. So that is to help mitigate or eliminate risk exposures which create claims. So our goal is to basically give you this arsenal of resources that you can use that will help to mitigate or eliminate those claims. The next page just gives you a picture of the pool staff. This is a dedicated group of 6 people that will serve you. If you choose to work with an agent, we work with them. When we spoke last winter, here we are at winter again, it was decided that you would not use an agent, but we've included those commission numbers as well in our quote packet. But we have also worked very well both ways with members who have agents and members who do not. The next page is just a picture of our pool board of directors. So these are the local folks that make the decisions for the risk pool. They ultimately decide what coverages we can afford. They will decide who we utilize for reinsurance, what service providers we use, things like that. All of the service providers that you would deal with are all local. Our claims folks come out of Rapid City or Sioux Falls. Your group would be serviced by Sioux Falls. All of our panel counsel that we use is from South Dakota, all very well respected in their areas of expertise. And then our loss control and property valuation services come out of Plankington. So it's all local. Every service provider that we use right here in South Dakota. The next page just focuses a little bit on member benefits. Coverage is coverage. The idea that if you have a claim, you have a coverage document or a policy that responds, that theory carries across the board. That's the whole purpose of insurance is it's a promise to pay. It's a promise to indemnify in the event a covered claim is made. So we focus also on loss control services. We want to equip you with ways to eliminate or avoid that risk, or in the alternative, put our pool in a better position to resolve claims. So through our various benefits, including loss control, so we've got just tons and tons of training. A lot of that you already have access to through participation in the Workers' Compensation Fund. So you've got some access to some online training already. We expand on that, especially with our jail and law enforcement folks, because they have access to LLRMI, which is specifically focused on jails, law enforcement, model policies, all of these created with a special eye towards what's happening in South Dakota, statutes, laws, jurisdictional changes, all of the things that are happening here. Those are the things that they're looking at when they're creating our sample policies and the training. We have exceptional support for our jails because we have jail summits. So they're trying to do it once a month. It's been more so once a quarter. We have an online jail summit. One of our folks from LLRMI that is an out-of-state entity, so I'll give you that. But they will do a Zoom call and local entities will participate and they will talk about one specific policy. They'll do some training and then it's an awesome networking opportunity for those participants to take advantage of. We have loss control surveys and property valuation and risk surveys. Those kind of speak for themselves. We'll come out, we'll work through your properties. There may be some recommendations that are made. Ultimately, the goal there is to reduce the risk, eliminate, if possible, those exposures. We have 2 very important resources that have been crucial to our members over the past at least 2 years, between the COVID-19 pandemic and then now more recently, the marijuana issues with zoning, personnel policies, and things like that. Our government and employment practices hotlines have fielded many calls, and we actually task them ahead of calls to help create zoning ordinances, to start putting together personnel policies that can be utilized for now with medical marijuana and things like that. And then also employment law is just, it's a never ending trend. Unfortunately, we have consistently received calls, and with the pandemic, the questions were, how can we protect our employees? How do we keep them separate from the public? What duties do we have to the public? So all of those were topics that through our employment practices hotline and the government practices hotline, we were able to push out some advice and answer even specialized calls. And we continue to do that today. And those 2 resources are continuing to be a resource that all of our members have access to at any time. We have
safety awards and safety conferences that we encourage our members to participate in. And then the most recent addition to our loss control packet is a cybersecurity analysis program. We have partnered with Dakota State University to have our members undergo cybersecurity analysis. And what that will do is Dakota State will be able to identify any needs that a member may have, and then can offer some mitigation tools and resources that may be available to them. With participation in that program, we are working on a credit system. So if you participate, there will be some credits that you can earn. And credits are mentioned in the bottom of the program. You will see in your quote packet, so last year when we were looking at your program, we did an initial loss control analysis with you. Patty participated, and we've given you some pre-approved loss control credits and law enforcement loss control credits. So based on what you've got in place right now, our team feels confident that you've got a pretty good loss control program in place. And so they're comfortable giving you those credits just coming into the pool. 2 credits that you would have access to in the upcoming years would be your renewal credit. That's available every year. You just return your packet information on time, and then you get a credit. And then the other one is loss ratio credit, and that you would earn after we have 3 years of loss history. So just some key coverage points. Again, coverage is coverage. They all have the same theory, the same basis. So some things about our property program that I just want to point out: we do not have any co-insurance. So we work with you to make sure that your property values are appropriate. And as long as we keep those appropriate, then there's no need for a co-insurance clause where we require you to maintain a certain value, or if you don't, then there's a penalty. At the time when your property evaluation is done, we come out, we work with you, we right size those, and then in 4 years, we start the process all over. So in between those times, you don't have to worry about, are my property values appropriate? Do I need to change them? Do I need to get appraisals? We do that. We work with you, and we come out and we make sure that those are appropriate. Blanket coverage for our properties, unless you've specified that you want a stated value coverage, then of course that property goes to whatever the stated value is. We do not have a separate wind hail deductible. So whatever the deductible is on that property location, that's the deductible that applies to all covered claims. And we currently do not have a cosmetic damage exclusion or limitation. That is something we are seeing more and more commonly on the commercial policies. On the liability side, so last time we spent a lot of time talking about the difference between an umbrella and what our program offers. Our program offers per occurrence limits. If you want 1 million per occurrence, then you take the 1. If you want 3, you take the 3. If you want 6, you take the 6. Your limit per occurrence is the limit per occurrence. We don't rely on a second overseeing policy that gives you the additional coverage that you need. The limit is the limit. Our coverage does not have a member aggregate. So in this example, say you have $6 million per occurrence. We hope that you never have any $6 million per occurrence claims, but in theory, you can have as many as you need, because we do not currently have a member aggregate, whereas a lot of our commercial policies that we see will have a per occurrence limit with an aggregate on both the underlying policy, the liability policy, and the umbrella. Both will have an aggregate, which means that's the most the carrier will pay in any one term. So those are just something that you need to keep in mind. We have 2 coverage forms for a liability. We have an auto liability and then our governmental liability. So the governmental liability is all of the other things. We have quoted in your packet to cover your law enforcement, the ambulance service, and your regular governmental liability. So if you want us to pull that out, if you want to keep your separate policies for law enforcement and your ambulance, we can do that, and I can get those numbers to you by the end of the week. But last year we were quoting the entire program, so we just left it to quote the entire program. So to compare apples to apples, you'll need to add your additional policies back into your property and casualty quote. We do not have a work comp number on here because we don't write your work comp coverage, and I know you're with the SDMO work comp fund, and that's where we would recommend that you go. So crime coverage. So our crime coverage is a blanket coverage, covers all your full-time, part-time employees. That number is included in your property line of coverage. So that would just be all of your full-time, part-time employees and your appointed and elected officials. There would be no need for an auditor bond or any of the other statutory bonds required by SDCL 3.5. If you've got questions, the only bond that's not picked up by that enhanced crime coverage would be notary bonds, because those are person specific. They are not a blanket type bond coverage. Okay, so again, the last page of my little PowerPoint, not PowerPoint here, is a quick thank you, because especially to Patty, I know she put some time into getting the information and being a liaison between Roger's office and our office to get us loss runs and updated schedules and stuff like that. So again, thank you for letting me come meet with you to present you with this information and present you with our quote. We've got some pamphlets in there that talk a little bit more about the government practices hotline, the employment practices hotline, and then just the pool in general. On the right side of your packet is all the numbers. A quick welcome letter. Thank you for letting us quote. So there's, on that third page, that is the 3 different limits. So the property is what it is. That doesn't change. The only thing that will change is if you choose a different liability limit, then there's different numbers. And the credits will increase as your contribution dollars increase, because it's a formula, it's on a sliding scale. So that's all reflected for you. I'm happy to note, I did take a glance back, and our numbers for this year are actually less than what we were able to quote you last year. So that is kind of what I've got. That, I think it's your 4th page in the second packet here, talks about if you did want to keep an agent on board. What we did is, so our agent program is a pass-through, and we just took an average of what we see other members use for their agreed percentage amount and applied that to your contribution. So in theory, this is those agent numbers, that would be the commission amount that you would pay in, and we would immediately pay it back out to Roger's team if that's who you decided to use. If not, then it's just the numbers on the charted sheet. So enhanced crime, so of the property contribution, $78 is what it costs for the enhanced crime coverage. It's $1 million limit with no deductible. There's only one sublimit that is not the $1 million, and I believe it's the impersonation fraud. Most of our claims that we see come through usually are not impersonation fraud, though. We've got cyber liability. It's included in that governmental liability line. We weren't sure that we were going to get a cyber renewal. We had a lot of members who have standalone coverage who weren't sure they were going to get an individual renewal, just because cyber has gone crazy. It is the fastest trending exposure out on the market. We did get a renewal. We are able to offer the same limits, $500,000 per member aggregate. So again, it's an aggregate, so every claim will erode it, with $100,000 deductible for that cyber exposure. We can quote standalone coverage or excess coverage if you'd like to explore that, but that is what is just built into the program right now. Roger talked about look back, or we call it retro coverage. We've quoted a couple of years of retro coverage on there. It is something that we talk about often, because like Roger mentioned, those claims, what you don't know, and it's sometimes you need to consider protecting yourself from those as well. And then the balance of the sheets are really just some highlights of the program, some deductibles. The liability are all $0 deductible, except your law enforcement is $3,000 is what we've quoted, because that's our program norm. Employment related claims are $5,000, but if you call the hotline and follow advice of counsel, then that deductible may be waived. We've got an injunctive relief coverage that carries a $5,000 deductible on your liability. And then your property, $5,000 unless it was specified for other than $5,000. And you can see those on the spreadsheet schedules that we work with Patty to put together. So it's a lot, and it's super exciting. I totally know that. So if you have any questions, I can take those now. If you want to take a look at it, if you want me to pull the numbers apart, I absolutely can, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Otherwise, you have my phone number, you have my email address, you can call, text, email anytime. I'm happy to get you the information that you need to make sure that you have all of the information to make your best choice. Okay.
Any questions right now?
No.
Okay, well, thanks for hanging with us.
Oh, yes, thank you again for having me.
health insurance. All right. Does anybody have any questions for Julie? Stuff's all probably in the previous. So the information presented is in the previous meeting packet. If anybody needs to pull that up. So we had decided to do a survey and Valley had emailed that out to all the commissioners. Did everyone get a copy of that?
I did.
Yes.
So of the folks who responded, if I count 459, 61, 44 had said they would like to go to the well mark, 15 said no. And 2 skipped the question. As far as folks willing to share the increased costs for the plan, it was kind of varied. 28 said no. They weren't really willing to share in that cost. And then you had a 5, 7, 4, and 6 as far as 30, 45, 60, and 90. And then 4 skipped the question. And Valley, those all included the handwritten ones, correct? That's what I thought. So that was the results of the feedback from the employees who partook in that survey.
So, so how many of the total employees out of, then? Not all of them did. I suppose it was optional or?
So there's 92, 94. There's 94 in the insurance. And what did I say? 4, 5, 61? So 2/3 participation. Something like that. Which is actually pretty
good,
decent.
actually.
So if you move that 31 down to the group that wanted to move, it would be an easy decision, but if you took it off that group, it wouldn't be much support for change.
Okay, I don't think I'm following you. Say that one more time.
If they don't care enough to come in
Oh.
and tell you what they would
What
do
they-
and
yep.
what they would like,
I see.
they probably don't care. And so I don't think you can say those 31 would be supportive of going to a higher category,
I see what you're saying.
but that was confusing the way I said it.
It was, Don.
I
I'm glad
understood you.
you.
I understood you, Don.
So I know it's late for me, but. All right.
But it looks like the majority, really doesn't want to contribute a whole lot, which I can understand.
Yep. So in the last packet, Julie had provided that nice colored spreadsheet where we're at today. And then the proposal from Blue Cross, Blue Shield, and Avera. And then there were the separate plans that were involved there. You bet. Come on up.
And once again, whatever decision you make is whatever, but keep in mind that probably the 94 employees that are participating in receiving insurance from the county.
She's
only
breaking
about
up.
50 actually use it.
Right.
So the 41 people that responded, more than likely, those are the people
point.
using the insurance. So I know it affects everyone, but
Mhm.
just to add that point. Okay,
Does anybody have, while you're standing there, anybody have questions for Julie
yes.
at all?
I know this is a big step, especially to move the plan to January 1, if that is decided tonight.
And then to change plans again. It is a big step, but I know you're capable of making it. So I am fully in support of moving our renewal date to January 1. I do believe it aligns with most employers across probably the nation, because on a year, and then it aligns better with the HSA plans, because they're on a yearly basis for tax reasons, and it just makes it a cleaner decision for employees, especially if they have a spouse and they're looking to change insurance to the spouses and all that kind of stuff. So I do support moving to January 1.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think overwhelmingly the employees felt the same way, so
Yep,
that makes sense.
yep, and this was a good year to get it done, finally. So now our question becomes, do we want to change plans?
So let me go back to your comment about 50 use it,
No. Yeah, about 50.
about 50.
Mhm.
And 41 that probably are, most of them are in that 50,
Probably.
would want to go higher. So what they want is
Exactly.
the other people to pay for their program.
Exactly. I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying.
Don, you're breaking up.
That's because I'm not up to the microphone like you always tell me I gotta be.
That's because I'm not there to adjust.
What I
it.
said, Wanda, was essentially, if there are 50 people that basically use the program, and there were only 41 that said they wanted to move the insurance carrier, it would appear to me that probably that 41 are mostly in that group of 50, or the other way around, either way. And then then the remainder of the people, the other 40 some, are expected to pay for the cost of moving to the higher carrier. That's what I said.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna stay here. Okay.
Well, I would share that everybody that has approached me have suggested that we move to the higher price carrier, Blue Cross Blue Shield or Wellmark, whatever it's called this week, because they have more options. They can go to the Mayo Clinic, they can go to Omaha, they can go wherever they need to go, Iowa, but they can't do that with Avera. So
I will add I mean, in all fairness, Avera does allow Mayo Clinic. It just needs pre-approval, so. that-
I understand what you're saying, Wanda,
I'm just repeating what they
but
told me.
who's paying for it?
Oh, I understand who's paying for
People
it.
that are not using the insurance are paying for it.
Well,
And I'm one that uses
That-
insurance a lot, so I'm not,
That, Don, in all fairness, that's true of any company. I mean, that's true of any company. Unfortunately, there's usually half that use it and half that don't. So, I mean,
doesn't
that's true.
change anything.
no.
Well, insurance in theory is there to pay for the exorbitant costs of horrible things happening to you, not if you get a cold.
So right now, we're paying $618 a month for every person on the plan. And if we are looking at going to Blue Cross Blue Shield, right now in front of us are the white columns. There's 4 plans. And the PPO is $5,500 deductible for $774. And you go to the first HSA, that's a $4,500 deductible for $830. And then they have a 5,500 deductible for 764. And there's a 6,350 for 700. So there's an array of plans. Now, if I recall correctly, when we had Blue Cross Blue Shield before, the HSA we had was a $5,500 deductible.
And a 45, right. I just included that one as an option.
Yeah.
That last one, correct.
But did we have the 45
Mhm.
before? We did.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we're going up to one of those, then the county picks one of those that we pay for, and the employee would have their choice usually of the PPO. And right now, that 5,500 HSA is about the same as the 5,500 PPO. It's $10 difference.
Can I say something, Sherry?
You bet.
Can I add too? Since I presented these numbers to you and I, of course, had to hustle to get these to you. I didn't, Wellmark Blue Cross Blue Shield did. Every company that I sell we're seeing increases across the board.
Yep.
So I know these are huge and, even Avera's are formerly paying. But everyone is seeing an increase, a significant increase. And I'm not talking, they're no longer single digit increases, they're double digit. So to go back and beg for a lower rate, there was no point.
So I can support the Blue Cross Blue Shield plan at the 5,500 deductible for both the HSA and the PPO, and the county would pay the HSA 764.
I'd support that.
I could support that.
Sorry, say that again.
So the
$5,500.
So the white column, the first and third white columns.
Okay,
Can I add once again, that's where the majority of your employees are signing up for anyway. They're taking the 5,500 co-pay plan, or the 5,500 HSA plan.
right. So the copay plan and the HSA 5,500.
Correct. And eliminating the $4,500 HSA plan.
Yeah, no one
Right.
would go for that.
That's what
I
I'm
did
saying.
the numbers, it'd be cheaper to stay in the other plan, even if you used all the
Right.
deductible.
Now,
And
is
then
that with the employees contributing any?
we can talk about that. There was some openness to it. I don't think we could make them pay all of it for sure, and I don't think half of it. I think at most it would be like a $30.
Well,
Is
one of the things that we're gonna be faced for in the coming year is that I think the governor announced in her speech today that she recommended a 6% across the board raise for employees, and that's what we've been following.
Yep. So this, this plan is $1,000 a year per employee.
Yeah.
That's essentially a raise. If they're on the insurance, they're getting $1,000 raise if the county decides to pay it all.
My concern, or a couple thoughts, I guess, is, Julie, you kind of alluded to most places, or a lot of are seeing double-digit increases.
Yes.
And don't think that's not gonna happen again.
And with your utilization, the increase that you're seeing is not out of line.
Yep.
So I'm inclined stay with the Avera. And there's employees that aren't. I think there's employees that aren't happy with it, and I think there's employees that are okay with it but prefer Blue Cross Blue Shield. So I think that's two separate issues. What I gather, and I don't have email on this thing, but what I gathered out of that survey was that many that used it would like to switch, but not many of them thought it was worth a whole lot to switch. And to me, that tells me something, I guess. And I was one, I had Blue Cross Blue Shield. I was satisfied with it. I'm now on the Avera plan, and I can't say it's a lot worse or more cumbersome in any way. It's probably more options with Blue Cross Blue Shield. But I think bottom line is both of them are pretty darn good insurance plans. If you look at the rest of the country and rest of the world. So I'd be inclined to stay with the Avera unless the employees contributed some of that increase. Because again, I think we're going to see a big increase next year. I think we're going to see a wage increase next year. And those are some pretty big jumps that are going to be hard to swallow with our budget.
But you're looking at for match 30, 45.
I would say at least half. You know, part of me
One
says,
of the considerations, I'm sorry.
part of me says switch, just switch to the first of the year, leave it as Avera for a year, and look to switch next year, maybe see if they're more in line with each other. But I would say at least half of that they would need to match. And I, quite honestly, I have trouble asking people who really don't care or use it to pay
Half the payment, you mean?
Half the
half
increase.
of the
Oh,
half of the
Half the
increase.
increase. Which would be about $5.
that's what most of those are paying now.
That's
That's a
kind
good
of what
point,
my
Randy.
thoughts on.
Okay. Other thoughts on asking the employee to pay $45 toward this increase?
Well, I can see both sides of that. On the one hand, you have employees which you'd like to retain, and it would be a good benefit for them if they got the Blue Cross Blue Shield, if they were those that wanted to use it. On the other hand, I know that there are those that are having a difficult time, not necessarily county employees that I can think of to say, but because of the wonderful inflation that we are being allowed to participate in at this time. So to some, $45 per month might be a lot.
Dan, do you have thoughts?
Yeah, I think, I guess I kind of like to set up how we have it now where the county covers it. The people who aren't utilizing it, generally younger people, and then to ask them to pay, they're the ones who can least afford it, the ones starting out. And I'm fine with switching if that's what people want, but I would like to keep it where the county covers the cost. I just think that could be part of the benefit package that we give to our employees for retention, and we could, roll that in and consider that when we do wage increases as well, so.
So you support going across Blue Shield, but require no,
I would like to stay how we are with the county and where we cover the cost. That's how we do it now, correct?
Yep, so
And
which,
so-
well, for one plan we do.
Yeah. That's where I would like to be at.
So are you in support of staying or switching?
I'm fine if the employees want to go to Blue Cross and Blue Shield, I can support that too.
I don't think that's an option.
Majority that I have heard, they would like to switch from the feedback that I've gotten. I don't think anybody is dissatisfied with Avera, kind of like Joe has said, but it seems like the people who do utilize it do like the flexibility that Blue Cross and Blue Cross Blue Shield gives to them.
It helped when you said that Mayo accepts Avera, but that's only one, quite a few. I guess
I'm sorry, Don.
if I were an employee, I would probably want to go to Blue Cross Blue Shield and would be willing to pay half of the upswing.
Wanda, did you have any other thoughts?
No,
I think we should have two motions. One to change and then one to,
One to change the renewal date? Okay,
and then one to what you're gonna go to.
okay, we can probably get that first motion out of the way.
Yeah. That one would be-
That's the easy one.
I would make a motion to change the renewal date to coincide with the calendar year.
I'd second that motion.
So I have a motion by Fox, second by Clemish to move the renewal date for our health insurance to the calendar year, which means it begins January 1. Any discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
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 Oh,
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. So we've got that one done.
I'd make a motion that we move the carrier to Blue Cross Blue Shield, whatever plan you had.
Okay, the two $5,500 deductible plans.
And the employee be charged the $45 per month, pay period, month premium.
Okay,
per month increase,
Yes.
second.
so I have a motion by Kettering, second by Fox to approve the Blue Cross Blue Shield plans, the PPO at 5,500 deductible and the HSA at 5,500 deductible. And each employee would pay $45 per month. So the difference in the cost between those two plans is $10. So whichever plan they end up picking, it doesn't matter. They're going to pay $45. If that makes sense. That's the motion,
I was gonna ask, because currently we just set it off of the one, like.
right?
we set it
So,
Off of the HSA 5,500.
so you pick the plan and you pay 45, we pay the balance. That's essentially what the motion is.
And, you know, this follows what happens to almost all of us, I would guess. Our insurance rates go up. They've gone up. We pay more.
And I think this year, what do you pay this year for PPO? Extra
40, I think it's 45.
45. So of the current employees on the PPO are already paying $45 a month.
$45.17.
A month. So essentially, they see no change next year. It's the HSA plan that would see changes.
Really not much incentive to. Go to the HSA.
Well, it is if you're a person who's going to out your deductible
Makes a difference.
because of the
on taxes.
co-pays,
Yeah.
the maximum out of pocket
That's
things.
30%.
So,
Right.
10, 12 for me, Don.
Yeah, you get all the deductibles.
okay, so we have a motion on the table. Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think we need to do a roll call vote on this, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes 5-0.
Okay.
You're good to go.
We have work to do, Patty.
Oh,
But we did it a little earlier
Yes, you're not
than
giving me
the-
2 days.
than the last
I've
time,
got a
so-
few more
Yeah, I thought we
days.
had till the 21st.
No, we have to have paperwork signed by the 15th.
Oh.
So we'll be good. Thank you
All
very
kinds of time.
much.
Thank you,
You
Julie.
bet. Thank you.
Item 18, sanitary sewer district.
I'm gonna make it real quick because we're getting late. I think we really need to take a look at a sanitary sewer system in the lake area, down below the lake area. And I say that for several reasons. One is certainly the concern over if a septic system goes defunct and they don't get permission to replace it, that house is in big problem. Two, today we passed, if you think about all the steel roofs that we put out in that area in the last 18 months, all that water, instead of going into the ground, is going in creeks or
More runoff rather than.
yeah, more runoff that, and it's just gonna be a disastrous problem sometime in the future. And if you think third about the way our government, federal government is going towards environmental issues, at least if the present president stays in power, I don't see that disappearing, and I would think that one of the first targets in our area would be water that would drain into the Missouri River that goes into the Yankton and all the downstream areas. And then fourthly, if we do the study and find out a proposed cost on it, the residents still have the option to vote it down. But at least we've done some pre-work to give them the option to make their decision on how they want to go. And I don't doubt that they'll vote it down. I don't, but I think it's
Then it's
good.
on them. It's on them and their
Yes,
choice and not
that's
on us.
exactly right. It's not on us.
Because the time will come down there where we're gonna have to pay the piper. And just like you said, there's gonna be issues, probably sooner than later. And
And then another thing I'd say is, Sherry, you and I attended a meeting with Gene Hunoff, and they come out after what, 11 months.
be mindful of those listeners at home, Don.
They come out after a long time with all their requirements to spend their $1 billion, and what it boiled down to in our meeting was, if you don't have a shovel-ready project, forget about it. And I think there's going to be more funds come down from the federal government, and if we get a shovel-ready project, we would then qualify for federal funds. If we don't do anything, we won't be in the ballpark again. We'll be too far behind. Tie that to the fact that I think we've got at least half of the initial cost. Now, it doesn't cost the whole thing of bidding and everything for the total cost to get down to the final dollar, but half of the cost of getting this initial study done is being paid for by the James River Commission. So I would urge us to think about it and encourage us to move forward with at least the first phase of finding out what that study would provide. That's all I have.
I have just a couple of comments. And in the whole picture, overall, I'm supportive of getting the study done. I might have a different take on timing of it and how to do it. A couple of things is, if you look at those previous studies, they go all the way out around 52, all the way out to 50. I think we have to be realistic about what the concerns are and where the potential growth is and some of that. And you get up onto the bluffs, most of the concerns with septic and some of that goes away unless you live below the hill.
Yeah, that's a dirty thought.
But I think we can easily narrow it down to probably below the bluff, maybe south of, well, probably the 52 corridor, let's call it. That's where there's potential business growth. That's where a lot of the housing, campgrounds, et cetera, are going up, where we're seeing an increase in the septics. So I think we can save some costs on the study right away by narrowing the scope of it. The other thing is the time is a little bit of the essence. Like you mentioned, I think you're right that there may be funding coming down, and I think a shovel-ready project is going to have more chance. But I kind of circle all the way back to the beginning, and I really feel that if we move forward, even with the study, I think we're going to put a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth.
What was the last part?
I think we're going to put a bad taste in people's mouths. I think the best way to approach it to get buy-in, because even that there's a very low chance that people out there are going to want to support this if it's going to cost more money to their
Depends on
way
how
of
we
life.
handle those 500 campers.
Right, but so what I would like to see prior to even spending the study is I'd like to see a reasonable area kind of identified and a survey go out to not just the current landowners, but the business owners, the undeveloped landowners, and say, hey, we want your participation in this. We're not moving forward with anything yet. We want to see what the appetite is. Let's do this together from the beginning.
One of the problems I think with that, and then I'm going to shut up on it, but the city is, I think, in the ballpark of being shovel ready on a project. If we don't have something that convinces them that they at least have to have a plan to handle, I don't foresee having another sanitary system down below the bluff. I see it being tied to the city, and if they get going ahead fast, I think it's left out.
Yeah, and I don't disagree. I feel fairly strongly that if we try to push this due to some of those timing issues, we're just guaranteed that it won't happen. Whereas if we go about it the right way, in my opinion, the right way, we have a better chance of getting buy-in from people out there. We can speed to a brick wall, or we can kind of meander through and try to get something to work, and maybe the timing is off. I don't know, but
the first question anybody's gonna ask, nobody is, I'm against the sanitary district in principle. The first question they ask, well, what's it gonna cost?
Yep.
We can't tell them that until we do this study. And Gary and I and Wanda was there, we held a public input session, and I was pretty encouraged by that. There was some pretty good suggestions. One of them, which surprised me, was the biggest interest was in the pipe going out to Napa Junction and tying that in along Highway 314 and trying to do some development, which goes right in really well with our rezones coming up from RT to residential. And so I think at some point the ball needs to get rolling on here. We have every reason not to do it. And I think we either, ultimately, the only way a district is ever gonna get set up is if the voters decide to do that.
Right, and that's
so
what
it's
I'm
up to
saying.
them.
I'm
So
trying to,
we hand them the information and it's up to them. And they'll either do it or they won't, but just talk. And what this study is gonna do is there's public input sessions with the city. There's public input sessions included out there and all of that is included. So it's a conversation about it, but it just, the ball needs to get rolling. And look, to Don's point, is if we aren't gonna work with the city, this thing is dead in the water anyway.
well, I think
So-
cost wise, we can easily say 2008 and double it, and that's a starting point.
Well,
I mean,
But-
if you
but
don't have
that's-
appetite at that point, there's just no appetite.
Unless you can get
Hmm.
a big slug of money from.
Right, and I think
feds.
that, to me, that's where some of this early participation can pay off, is if we, because I think if you come out and say, here's a study and this is what we want to do, or potentially you have to form a district, but hopefully there's some federal dollars. I don't know. I just think people hit the brakes. You had one public meeting and got some great input.
Mhm.
Had we gone forward with that study, there wouldn't have even been talk of Napa Junction or 314 being tied in.
That was
So
actually included in when we talk with the engineers, but the Napa,
Okay,
but yeah.
I would like to see it. I think it has to be approached delicately, I guess.
Well, I think it's time for a decision on it, and we either move forward or we don't, and I'm fine either way. But anytime we can get a study that would help the citizens of Yankton for basically no cost to our county government budget, I wonder why we wouldn't do it. And it might not happen this year, but maybe next year, 5 years down the road, but at least we'll have the information and to make a educated decision. So, I don't know, I guess I'd if, do you want to do a motion? I can make a motion.
I'm gonna make a
Well,
couple
okay.
comments. So I did contact District 3 about that deadline that Gene Hunhoff had said. So during our meeting with Gene, and it was on slides, PowerPoint slides that were DANR leader, what's his name? Hunter.
Roberts.
There you go. Hunter Roberts had put out his plan, and essentially they're looking at projects that are on the state water plan. And there was a deadline October 1st to get your application to be on the state water plan to be considered for this $600 million that's been given to the DANR to distribute to water projects. So we missed that deadline. Counties normally aren't involved with any of those deadlines, so we didn't know that we had to apply for that. But I was told February 1st is another deadline to apply to get a project on the state water plan. It's kind of like a 5-year plan
And we have to have it on the state water plan before we can.
before it's considered for anything, whether it's this pot of money or any money coming down the pipeline. So if we're serious about possibly moving down, we at least need to get our project on the plan. So someone has to work with District 3 to get that application rolling. So essentially you're defining, you can do a feasibility study and apply for dollars to help with a feasibility study, which in my mind, that sounds like something more than just a $25,000 updated study. I don't know if that would include engineering and that whole shebang, because that's a little bit more involved. And a big question here is if we do go down that path, who pays for it, the county or a district that you would create? So then we start talking real dollars and capital outlay, but it's important to get on that list. Otherwise, any efforts we do to update a study or whatnot, we're missing out on all the dollars because we're not on the state water plan. And the other thing they cautioned is that there are programs out there but oftentimes it's on the economics of the area. And that area is not really considered low income per se. So some of the programs that area wouldn't qualify for.
Well, you know where most of the 600 or the 900 billion?
Million,
Million.
900 million.
900 billion went. It didn't go to Tondi, South Dakota or Turton.
Yeah, because that money didn't have to go to low income, but some
they
of
didn't
the,
have any shovel ready projects and they weren't.
yep. Yep,
the
that's,
smart boys in Sioux Falls and probably Watertown and
yep, well,
Rapid City. Rapid
and
City wants to put in a
6 billion or something.
water for their whole West River,
Yeah, so,
drinking water system.
you
rural
know,
water.
but those big cities have an advantage because they are always building, so they always have a shovel-ready project. That's just their pot of luck, I guess, this round. So, again, I think that's part of it is doing this little study, great and all, but if we're not on that plan, somebody needs to take that on their plate to get done.
I really think that's where with this plan is working with the city closely, and that's gonna be absolutely crucial because they have the expertise and I don't think it's realistic unless we have the city working with us, because it just won't happen. So, but we need to be serious and we need to find out some real numbers and get the project started, so.
So, but I do agree with Joe, how it's delivered is important. I made that statement last time.
Mhm.
So at this point, it's 9:15. We either move on or we make a motion.
Yes, I'd move to approve funding for the feasibility study for the sanitary district, given that half the cost is already paid for with the grant. And from research.
Above the hill or below
Gary
the
and
hill?
I, we've, that we can expend ARPA funds from what we've been told for the remaining cost. So I guess I'd move to,
How much was that?
you have that we got from Mike Perkovich? Was it around 14,000? Yeah. And we already have a grant for the other half. So essentially it's no
Pause you for a
cost.
minute?
Yes.
I guess before we
Mhm.
really go forward, I'd like to see a couple quotes if we're gonna do it.
Okay. They, from who?
Well, I think you had Stockwell and then who, you had somebody else in here.
They never got back to us. So, I mean, Stockwell, they came in and presented, was that a month ago? So I guess that would be basically approved their bid.
And then what's the? I'd like to see or hear some sort of plan for follow through of some sort. I mean,
It
we've had
was-
these studies that have sat there and gone nowhere. And I think it's important if it's something we want to do to spend the money and do it. I don't want to spend $10,000 just because we got it half off and have it go nowhere.
Well, if we're gonna talk about a study for purposes of making more housing available in Yankton County, because we can't expand to the south and we can't expand to the east because of floodplains, then why don't we do the feasibility study above the hill?
Yeah.
To tie in with
That's
the
a great point that we got at that meeting you and I were at, Wanda, is when we talk with the engineers, we can have some focus being above the hill, because that was some really good comments that we received.
And then the other
because
question,
the topography is good. There are people there that are, as I understand, having their property rezoned for purposes of building residents. So I think, Mr. Kettering's always in favor of making more housing available for potential growth. That would make more sense to me then.
I agree.
Do you want to have a study below the hill because that someday the septic systems are going to go in? I understand Don's point, but if we're going to do something that's actually going to do something and not just update an old study to see how much it's going to cost, I think above the hill would be the better choice.
In that, Gary, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was included in what they were gonna study, that area map, they were gonna study the 314 as well, when we talked with them, is that correct?
No.
We could change the emphasis. Yeah, we could definitely change the emphasis to that. I could support that.
And then the other question before I cut you off from your motion is where's our economic development group in this?
I'm sorry?
Where's our economic development group in this? I think before we really do a lot, we should have buy-in from them and have, to me, they should be running this.
Well, maybe we should move this 2 weeks and invite them to come and see if they have anything that they want to say.
We, I mean, long and short, we don't.
And then move on to the next agenda item.
Driver for the community, and I think this is a big portion of that, and if they don't see the need for it or want to invest into that, then I don't know if we should.
They see the need for it. There's
But
no
they don't want to
question about
put
that.
any money into
They
it.
don't have any money. They're like us.
Sell some property.
We met
It's
with,
all for sale.
I met with Nancy on this and she's supportive of it, but I mean, what is there to support right now? I mean, the first step is the study, and if we've been fighting
I'm
about
saying
it
financially
for 2
support
months,
it.
and if we can't even do the study, if we can't even agree to do the study to look at the problem, it's never gonna move forward. So I can understand nobody wanting to get involved. So I think the time is, we decide we do it or we don't, and we move on. And
So
I'm fine either way.
Go
So,
ahead and restate your motion so we know where you
all right,
stand.
Make a motion to approve the engineering study for the sanitary district. Getting late. Make a motion to approve the funding for sanitary district study.
In the amount.
That was presented by 14,650.
And that's the county share? So does the county have to pay the bill and get refunded? Because that means we have to have it be larger and get refunded for it, correct? I just want to make sure we don't have to come back and do another motion if it does pass.
No, we got the grant already for that, for the other half.
Okay. All right. So there is a motion on the table to approve Stockwell Engineering for $14,650 to update the essentially 2008 sanitary sewer district study. And that includes the Napa Junction too.
Yep, and we're gonna put emphasis on above the hill along with 314 corridor per public input.
You don't have to have that. Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion by Clemish, second by Kettering to approve $14,650 for an updated sanitary sewer district study. Any other discussion? Okay, so all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay.
Nay.
Nay. Motion passes 3-2. So Dan, you are in charge of this. You're going to work with Stockwell Engineering. Are you going to work with District 3 to get us
Yeah,
on?
we can work with them.
Because you're their rep.
Yep.
Anyway.
Yep.
So because we need to get on that water plan before February 1st. All
Okay.
right. We will close item 18 and we're at item 19. And this is holiday party, and Patty had checked with Checkers. And the two dates were the 7th.
7th and then the 15th.
So it would be a Friday, the 7th, in January or Saturday, the 15th. Are options if we'd like to do it at Checkers
At 6 o'clock.
At- at 6 o'clock.
I'm sorry, what were those dates one more time?
January 7 or the 15th. So that's a Friday on the first one, Saturday on the second one. Does anyone have a opinion on which day might work better
You probably have better attendance on Friday.
on a Friday than a Saturday? I would probably agree with that. If
I'm
people
fine
are,
with the 7th.
well, and the 15th, we have Monday off for Martin Luther King. Did we get that one off?
Yeah.
So that's a 3-day weekend. So probably the 7th would work better in case people are traveling. Does that make sense?
Yes,
And I'm
yes.
to go both days, so it doesn't make any difference.
Oh,
I'll
well,
try you.
maybe we could all join you down there. We could Zoom you into our, so,
Don's buying.
I think the 7th is the best is what I would. say.
all right, so let's go with the 7th.
What's that, 6 o'clock? 6 o'clock or 6:30?
Well, he had times 6, 7, or 8. I
Check,
think.
Checkers has this staff that can serve 60 to 90 people.
Remember, we had, the last time we had it was up there, and they have that little room
We
up
had it
there.
upstairs.
It wouldn't be downstairs, it would
Do
be
it like a
upstairs.
buffet,
Yeah.
It would be upstairs.
Yeah. There was,
probably just do buffet or whatever again.
and there was
Or not
probably
buffet,
what,
but self-serve.
35, 30 people. There wasn't a lot of people there, probably about 30 to 40.
Okay,
Yeah, we had a snowstorm that day.
okay, so 6 PM.
So you have to, I said like hors d'oeuvres and stuff like that, but if you want a full meal.
I don't think it. Any poll?
Hors d'oeuvres is fine, but we might want that at 7 then.
7 o'clock, yeah, people get home and should we do 7 then,
If
Patty?
we want it at 6, we better.
So what did Joe say?
For some of the employees that live out of town, they're not gonna wanna like leave and then.
You just go belly up until it starts.
It's a work day also,
Mhm.
and, yeah. That's my-
So what do you want?
6 o'clock?
Last time we did we did roast beef
I'd
and
be
it
fine
was,
with
I
Mashed
thought it was
potatoes, yeah.
good. I mean, it wasn't anything elaborate, but people ate.
We can do
and
6
sat there.
o'clock and do appetizers too. That'd be fine. I don't care.
Well, let's go with 6 o'clock and we'll figure out the food later.
Sounds good.
What if I make a decision?
There you go, Patty.
Patty.
You're
Leave it to Patty.
you're on. Item 20. Approval of November 16 meeting minutes.
I'll move approval of the November 16 meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion by Kettering, second by Healy to approve the November 16 meeting minutes. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Um,
All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. We are at item 21 and all those claims. Any questions on the claims?
I'd move approval.
Second,
Motion by Healy, second by Fox to approve the claims as presented. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. November payroll.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Healy, second by Kettering to approve the November payroll. Discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. We have unanticipated revenue.
This is from the 4-H, the parking
Paving the
lot.
parking lot.
Move approval.
Do we just need to accept it or do we need to sign it?
No, this is, the highway department already did the work.
Yep.
They're just paying back the highway.
Oh, that's what I was wondering. This goes to the highway budget
This,
or?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. It's already put in his,
His
like,
account or whatever.
revenue, but now we'll put it back in his budget.
Okay.
Move approval.
Second.
So I have a motion by Clemish, second by Healy to approve the unanticipated revenue from
Yes.
4-H into the highway budget. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And then we have a budgeted cash transfer,
Into the emergency management,
$23,113.
80,000.
Oh, the 80,000. Oh, I see. And then you got your balance. I got it. So an $80,000 transfer.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion by Healy, second by Kettering to approve the budgeted cash transfer of 80,000 into emergency management. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. Now we have an opioid settlement. Did you want to say anything on this?
No. Yeah.
Okay,
How much are we supposed to get? Don't know.
we have
Like a
no
class.
We get-
idea.
Do we get paid in cash or pills or?
No.
Opioid.
It could be $10, it could be
I move that we
10,000,
get
we don't know.
Wow,
And isn't it
kudos for you
supposed
for
to go
signing
to,
up, so.
isn't it supposed to go, maybe if it is, we win, goes to settlement or for wellness for the, I don't know the word, for treatment? Yes. If we win, if we do
Okay.
get a settlement, it's for treatment.
You need a motion for this? then?
No.
Okay, just a FYI.
I just wanted to let you guys know. that.
Okay, so no action on this. All right, so we have an MOU between South Dakota State Extension and counties. And we do this every year. Something's closed here. So essentially, we need to approve the memorandum of understanding for 2022. And in there, there is an amount, $4,227.31 is our share of that service.
I'd move approval of the extension MOU.
So I have a motion by Healy, second by Clemish to approve the MOU between SDSU Extension and the counties of South Dakota for 2022. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. And approve the 2022 calendar.
We just had it done earlier, so we thought we,
Very colorful.
So we need a motion to approve this calendar.
So move.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Kettering, second by Clemish to approve the 2022 county calendar. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All
Aye.
opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0. And the last item is December 23rd.
That
Eh.
meeting or what?
no. I was just, we have, the 24th off on
Oh.
Friday. I'm just
Friday.
was requesting maybe closing the county offices at 1 on Thursday in case anybody has to travel or. And it's not the end of the month.
So we're closed Friday.
Yep, because Christmas is on Saturday.
I don't see an issue with it.
I don't see an issue with it. I guess I would think all the offices should have to be maintained by some staff member. Just my opinion.
I don't know, close at 1, I don't know if you're gonna get a whole lot of traffic in after that.
I agree with that.
Deb, are the courts open all day that day?
Don't know yet.
Jody,
I think that-
I asked Jody and she said they are open.
So you would have to be there, I would assume, if court's in session. Any other discussion on this?
probably wait till last minute or wait at least till the next meeting and it'd be a Christmas surprise, maybe, I don't know.
Sometimes the governor gives that off,
Yeah.
like as
Sometimes.
a surprise,
Do we want to wait on a decision on this then?
I would say.
Preferable.
So delay till the next meeting, which is the 21st.
Yep.
You know, if somebody has travel, is making travel plans.
I'm probably old school, but when I worked, we had vacation time. And we had sick leave. And sometimes if you wanted to leave at noon before a holiday, you took a half a day of vacation.
Or you got sick.
Or you got sick.
Mm. But you know, I'm stingy at calling those babies off. So,
Or you could go elected official and just stay home.
Well, that's a good point. That's a real good point.
all right, so that concludes item 21. We are at public comments and it is 9:30.
Not
Would
very many of us.
any audience member like to make a public comment at this time? All right, we'll close public comment with none. Commissioner updates.
Winter's here.
Winter's here. We do have an 8-county meeting. Is that the fifth,
Next Wednesday
next Wednesday?
in Tyndall.
And that's at the 4-H grounds. Okay,
I attended Human Services Advisory Council meeting today. I don't know what they call it by, but it was over the TV. Some different kind of program, but anyway, they're initiating some relatively, I think, important changes in their administration of how they serve their clients, and they had a survey taken, it's a national survey, and it rates different human service type facilities in different areas, and they did quite well in almost every area. Good. They still have staffing issues, and they still have quite a few units shut down to zero. I think that's very impactful because they're a pretty large employer in Yankton County.
any other updates?
Just a reminder for commissioners that have reviews, employees and department heads get reviews done. I can't say I have all mine done, but I'm
Have we
scheduled.
got everything done to prep for them?
I thought we were getting training on that. That's what we-
That's January. And in fact, I just talked to the lady on Monday, alternative HR, and we're looking at the latter part of January. She's going to send me a couple dates, the last 2 weeks in January.
So
And I did try to call in for that, but it didn't work. Lisa said that
Do
her
'em and get 'em
mailbox was
done?
full. Oh, pardon?
We wouldn't get them done?
I've done all 4 of mine already, so we'll talk about that here shortly and stuff. So December 16th, we're having a department head meeting essentially to review the IT bids, which are due the 15th. And just to close out the year and talk about things. And then one last thing is it's December 7th. I think it's been 80 years since Pearl Harbor, and I'm disappointed my calendar this year didn't have Pearl Harbor Day on it.
Really?
Yep. So, but it has been 80 years, so I did want to make note of that sad event. So with that, entertain a motion to go into executive session for personnel, SDCL 125-2-1 and poor relief, SDCL 125-2, 2813 and 2813 1.3.
So moved.
Second.
So
Second.
motion by Healy, second by Kettering to sit as executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 5-0.
Wanda, are we bringing you in?
I don't know how that works, but my battery's gonna die.
Okay.
Well, the
Charge
previous commissioner always sat in his car when we did this.
That's because he felt threatened. I think you can just update me.
Okay, microphones, please. Entertain a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Healy, second by Kettering to come out of executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 4-0.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to pay the files of CW 21-093 and CW 21-106 and pend the balance of the files of CW 21-091 through CW 21-107 based on South Dakota Codified Law 28-13, subparagraph 34, 33, 3, 1.3, 27, and 1.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So motion by Healy, second by Kettering to approve and pend the files listed for indigent care. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 4-0.
Who was named?
I don't think anybody did, so it's all right. And no action will be taken for the personnel issue. Items for next meeting. We'll have property insurance on there. And then the December 23rd request
And
will
we
be
set
on there.
the
And
final
the
meeting, right, already?
IT bids will be on there.
Yeah.
What? Oh, the last meeting is the 28th, yes. So that's already set. So right now, I think that's all I have. Yeah, so the cannabis will be on the next meeting. And so the discussion is, do we leave them 5 minutes or 10 minutes for each application discussion? I'm thinking 10. If it only takes 5 minutes, then we have to wait, I guess, so,
It's not a hearing.
Oh, you're
is it?
talking about for the publishing.
yeah, they are. They're hearings.
They're hearing.
Yep, they're absolutely
Yeah, 'cause
hearings,
it's a
so.
license.
Okay, we'll talk about it some more.
Do it
I'll think
after
about
Board
it.
of Adjustment might be better later, because if they run long, then, you know.
That's why she needs to know. She's got it separate.
But if they're long, that doesn't matter, right? As long as we go.
Yeah.
Like she said, if they're short.
Then we wait around.
sit around and twiddle your thumbs for 5 minutes.
I'd put them 5 minutes apart. Yep.
I would like to sometime in the near future, discuss the possibility of some kind of a community county drive to raise some funds to put up a sign at each entrance of town that people of this community supports our law enforcement, EMS, right down the line, firemen. Because I think you look at these communities, how they're getting run over by rascals. We need to support our people and let other people know we support them.
All right, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion by Kettering, second by Clemish to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carries 4-0.